Eh, okay. Hi guys, if you're here. Give me 1 second to get set up. And hopefully you guys can hear me and actually check. I think it should be good. Let me full screen that. Sorry, I just got home, so once again, like last time, a bit of a rush to get everything straight. I also messed up the thumbnail for this, so let me fix that right now. Thumbnails wrong. And at least we still haven't seen any of the decks yet, but I should make a habit of getting here a little bit early. 1 second as I set up everything. Oh. I accidentally almost made the thumbnail 17,000 pixels across. Would have been bad. Okay. Just get this up quickly. In terms of play rate, this is going to be the first ST legal championship, which is going to be exciting. We have a big increase of Black Teach. We have a lot of Purple Black Luffy. Surprisingly little amount of Buggy. We also have Shanks coming back up. Other than that, oh, interesting. So Blue Purple Luffy, Green Zoro, Green Purple Luffy. This has kind of stayed the same. But previously we did have Red Rayleigh as the next deck to come after that, but that's kind of fallen off of cliff, now falling below 2.8% at the very least. And give me that again. And instead we have Black Teach, Purple Black Luffy, Red Shanks, Blue Buggy as high play rate. Even Green Bonnie. So every single deck except for Yamato is in this top represented. But we'll see what the top 16 looks like. Oh, hold on. Okay, 6 Blue Purple Luffy, 5 Green Zoro, 1 Red Rayleigh, 1 Green Blue Zoro and Sanji, 1 Green Yellow Law, 1 Purple Luffy, and 1 Black Teach. So no Blue Buggies, no Purple Black Luffys, but we have a Zoro Sanji, which I was talking to one of my friends. Yeah, I was talking to one of my friends that this might be one of the better aggro decks currently in the meta, but interesting. Okay. I think the stream should be all set up now. Let me now just pull up chat and everything. Sorry if I haven't been able to read your messages quite yet, but... Oh, fuck. Here's the thing. Okay. We're good. And let me just pop out chat. I was, what was I doing? Okay. Okay. My bad. I didn't realize that I was full screening myself as I was doing all the settings. We have Blue Purple Luffy at the top, Green Zoro second best, and then Green Purple Luffy as the third most represented deck, which is standard. We did have Red Rayleigh after that, but Red Rayleigh has seemingly fell off a cliff, maybe out of fear of things like Blue Buggy. But after that, we have Black Teach, Purple Black Luffy, Red Shanks, Blue Buggy, and Green Bonnie, all ST leaders as represented decks. People just excited for those because finally we can use them. But, oh, bit of spoilers for the people who haven't seen it. The top 16 is Blue Purple Luffy at 6, Green Zoro at 5, has had a bit of a resurgence because it is very good into the start deck leaders, which is probably a reason why you don't see some of the start deck leaders like Blue Buggy that have been performing in the West. Red Rayleigh, Green Blue Zoro Sanji, Green Yellow Law, Purple Luffy, and Black Teach. Purple Luffy and Green Blue Zoro Sanji, both leaders that we haven't really seen recently. Teach the only directly buffed SC leader, but Green Yellow Law also in there as well. I don't know how this matchup's going to go. So the effect, because I haven't seen this in a while, I'm going to be reading it with you guys. One dong on your leader on attack. Give me that back. On attack once per turn, you can return a 2-cost or higher character to your hand. Yeah, it has to be your character. And then you can make one of your 7,000 power or less characters active. So very, very aggressive. Importantly, is not what's the name? Supernova, but does have a lot of potential in other regards, I guess. In terms of play rate, Rayleigh has fallen off a bit with Buggy's insurgence, but Green Zoro, on the other hand, has been holding back Buggy and Purple Black Luffy currently. So the meta hasn't changed too much with the advent of the start decks, but Buggy has hurt Rayleigh a little bit, I would imagine, in theory at least. But I think the fact that Buggy is afraid of decks such as what is it? Green Zoro, that there aren't as many Buggies, so therefore maybe this week we'll have less Rayleighs than usual, but next week maybe that'll normalize a bit. Ooh, he has the... Let me pull up my pen. He has the anti-Green Zoro tech in his deck. This 4-cost Arlong on play, if you trash one card, makes so the opponent's leader can't attack the next turn, or the opponent's rest leader can't attack next turn, just so they can't chain them. And against Green Green Zoro, card is devastating. Against Blue Purple Luffy, not as much, but it still, I guess, does mitigate a 6,000 power attack, which can be relevant because a 6,000 power attack is equivalent to 2k against a 4-life leader. The rest of his hand is kind of just generic 2k, so he probably is hoping for more, but I honestly have no idea what he might be looking for. Blue Purple Luffy's hand, on the other hand, is very, very good. Regardless if he's going first or second, you would prefer to have this when you're going first, but even if he's going second, it's still a decent hand, just having a couple of ramp cards into high end that you do ideally probably want to see in this sort of matchup. You'd probably want 9 Mom in this matchup, but I have no idea how this matchup is going to go. The 3-cost Hashigi is going to definitely help a lot for Zoro Sanji to mitigate some of the things that Blue Purple Luffy might be wanting to do. We'll see how this goes. Maybe the stream's a bit loud for you guys. Let me know if something's weird in terms of like visually or in terms of... Oh, we don't usually get to see their legs. I think the UI is not up. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's see. I have, just to get people familiar with the players, we have Horikawa on Blue Purple Luffy on the right side, who is our preliminary 16th place at 8-1, and Green Blue Zoro Sanji, Ko, preliminary first place, 9 wins, 0 losses. Very excited to see what's going to happen here. And stream quality, fine. Plays out the Mihawk. I guess, oh, you can just play out the, yeah, Arlong. Because Arlong does have Slash. But chooses not to use the effect, just trying to play out a 4-cost 6,000 early. So does not care too much about the 6,000 power attack from leader. Just wants to get out the body onto the board, which for Zoro Sanji, especially since he can bounce back this Mihawk through his leader effect, this Arlong can potentially hit for 7,000 twice from the next turn already. And the cost of this Mihawk is very low. One of the issues with this Mihawk card has always been that, like, yes, you can play out a card, but it comes out rested, and also you're losing a 2k in playing the Mihawk. So in a deck like Zoro Sanji that can bounce back the card, it can be very nice. Thank you for joining into the stream. Oh, yeah, right. Effects only for rested leaders. Yeah, it's one of those weird things. That's true. I do need to kind of take that into account. Yeah, but still, I guess just cheating out the 4-cost 6,000 early on for this leader especially is very good. Right. Interesting. He also runs the East Blue Searcher. So potential for a lot of really interesting things. I think Arlong is East Blue, but still don't really know what other East Blue cards he would really want to play. Still, Blue Purple Luffy electing to go for the Bunkley here. He does have the potential to just next turn. He doesn't need to force the ramp through the 3-cost Zorojiro because he does have the Thunder Bagua. So next turn he can technically, although maybe not ideal, hit with the characters that he has and his leader and just leave up Tudong for Thunder Bagua. That is very good against aggro, so he will likely put that up, but just he would like to use his Dong more efficiently instead of just slamming Dong onto his characters this early on. Still, Zoro Sanji on this turn, thinking a little bit what he wants to do. I wonder, maybe he's thinking about playing the 5-cost Smoker now that he has it in hand. Seems like he is going to do that. I think it makes sense in this matchup. You do run the risk of being God-threaded by Blue Purple Luffy, but if you don't get God-threaded, then you're in a very, very good spot to just, in the next couple of turns, swing not just 6, 7, and probably 6 with leader, but do that twice thanks to the leader effect. So next turn, he also has Hody lined up if he does go for that. Right now, a bit of a vanilla leader, but he could technically just, he could already use his leader effect on this turn, just swing twice with Arlong as well, or even leave it active. You probably just swing twice with it, maybe, and let it go. But that does kind of run you the risk of dying to things like God Thread. See if he starts using his leader effect. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, I think it's a tricky spot, because you do get the 2k back, but using it early, if the opponent does have God Thread, it makes it very easy for the opponent to just wipe out your entire board. And I'd imagine for a deck like Zoro Sanji, you probably do not want to do that. If the Smoker can stay, which, given the current hand situation of Blue Purple Luffy, although I can't see the far right card, it likely will end up staying on the board. He can get the 2 7,000 power attacks with Banish onto the opponent's leader, which could be very, very devastating. For that reason, he likely didn't want to use the his leader effect to bounce back the Mihawk, because he does need that for fuel the turn after. Yeah, the Bunkley is not going to help him here. So he will likely... I think the optimal play for Blue Purple Luffy right now, because he doesn't have anything that he wants to play like a 5-cost Nami or something. Oh, interesting. I don't know if you hit with that Mihawk, though, because... Or... Yikes, that's strong. I don't know if you hit with that Bunkley, though. But I think that you just leave up a ton of Dong after hitting with your leader, so that even if the opponent plays Hody, you can't, or you're not in a spot where you're going to end up getting punished by Hody. That's a lot of East Blue cards. Interesting. This leader, I believe... Oh yeah, I think it is Slash. It's Slash and whatever the punching type is. So it can technically also use the 1-cost Perona as well to search through the deck for Slash type characters, which a lot of this deck is, as far as we've seen so far. So I'll be curious to see if he actually runs that searcher. We haven't seen it yet, but right now, East Blue Sanji at 9-0 in the Fukuoka Championship. Okay, he just plays the Bunkley to play around a potential Hody, I guess. I do think... I don't think I would have wanted to put that Dong on leader in that case. Because you could still want the Bagua just as a plus 4k if you're trying to deal with a lot of the opponent's attacks that already are lined up. But I just don't know in this matchup. Cavendish. I feel like Cavendish recently has just been adopted in a lot of blue decks as just a generically decent 4-drop that you play in the early game. The one issue with the card is that if you draw it later on, it's completely useless. Let's see what he wants to go for now. Seems like Blue Purple Luffy is kind of setting himself up to be a bit aggressive in this matchup, but it doesn't really feel like he would need to. Bullshiro is also a nice card. Bullshiro, 2-cost blocker that prevents one of your 5-cost or less slash-type characters from being KO'd, and is a blocker. Just very solid addition to OP12, just adds on to that sort of green thematic of not letting your characters be removed by effects. And also would defend a lot of his board. So, situation... There's no reason to not take the Bonkley there. 7 dong up. I don't know if you play Hody here. Yeah, I don't think you can. So, likely bounce back that. 6 dong left. You might just end up playing something like Cavendish into Koshiro, for example. He could also put down the what's it called? Tashigi, just to make sure that the opponent can't actually remove your board with things like 9 mum, since you'll be able to leader effect the next turn. Still, cutting Usachi, pretty big information for the Zorosanji player. Kind of indicates to the opponent that he is running low on counter cards. Yeah, he plays out the Tashigi, playing around the 9-cost mum a bit better. And is... what's he going to do with the extra dong? If he has 3 dong left, he only has characters that cost 2 that he can play out. He likely just plays out... Ooh. The Sigure Luffy is going to help a lot, actually. Is the... oh, right, he gets 1 more dong from Smoker. Okay, so then that makes his turn pretty clean. He can just search and then Koshiro. So, the issue, though, is that you'd have to move out one of your characters from the board. This is an interesting board state, though. The 8-cost Luffy does help in this matchup, I would imagine. But he ends up using the Thunder Bagua there. The thing is that right now his hand being 4 counterless cards, you don't really want to be playing these cards out of your hand. You'd rather be playing something out of your life, especially if you see like 9 mum, for example, next turn. But because Tashigi's on the board, it kind of makes it so that 9 mum, even if he does see it, is very bad. Is that all events? Yeah. At the... yeah, okay, so he sends this to bottom. He probably plays the 8-cost Luffy here, bouncing back. I mean, can't really bounce back anything great with all of the anti-removal on the board. But I do think you need to try to... oh man, he might just be dead in like a turn or 2, given his hand. He did thankfully get the gear second, so at the very least, he will be able to play an 8-cost and leave 2 dong up. But Zorosanji, with Hody in hand, now that he didn't need to use it the turn before, can use it in a lot more devastating spot next turn. As now we've seen as public information that the Blue-Purple Luffy picked up. Oh, he sent it to top? Oh. Interesting. Is that the right play, though? Because then you know that the 2 cards that you're going to pick up from Gum Gum Giant are going to be events. Which means that he doesn't have... like, if he's intending to use those events, then he can't play any of the characters that he has. He goes leader. Yeah, I mean, hitting into 7 with 6 doesn't feel great, but he's a mix of a lot of game plans here. Ooh. Blocking with Koshiro there is kind of big, though. Because you can 8-cost Luffy now, and, I mean, try to take out 1 character. But then, because he put the cards on top, he knows that he's going to be drawing into 2 events, which with 2 dong active, 0 after the opponent plays 7-cost Hody, are going to end up being very dead cards. Yeah, he plays it a bit slower. I guess this plays a bit better around Hody because you get to keep at least a blocker or a Dong card. But I don't think that there's a reason not to play Hody here, unless he can take the game a bit slower. Blue Purple Luffy is putting on a little bit of pressure onto Green Blue Zoro and Sanji. Jesus Christ. So it does make it a bit risky to play Hody, because if he can't go for game on this turn, then he could be in a spot where he is going to die in the next turn. But then again, the rest of his hand, only 2Ks and Searchers as well as Cavendish, who at this point is a bit of a dead card. Makes it kind of tricky to actually try to go for anything that's not Hody. Whatever he decides to do, he needs to kind of commit to that plan early on, which is going to give Blue Purple Luffy a lot of information in this matchup. I think the OP13 Luffy leader looks really good. It's hard to say if it's going to be like broken, but it seems like fairly balanced, just because like 1 cost plus 2000 events have never been great, but if it's free, then it's pretty solid. Just the thing is, like, if you play as like a standard red-green leader for the first like 5 turns, and then after you play like a decent board, you just leave a 5-dong every turn, and you have like immediate insane defense every turn, I think that's probably a really strong way to use it. But yeah. Okay. Hits with the 7, forces out the Gundam Giant early. And now I think because of the way that he set up the draws to go to the top of his life, which honestly I don't think that's a really good idea. If the Zoro and Sanji player plays out the Hody, Blue Purple Luffy has literally 0 counter at his hand. Not only that, but we know that at least the next card is going to be Red Rock. Yeah, he could still technically play the Hody, but paying the 2-dong here for Nami makes it less likely that he's actually going to go for that play, as although he does get the 1-dong back from Smoker to be able to hit with him again, he's just losing 2-dong worth of power that could have went to leader. He's... just happened? Oh, okay. I thought he like placed the cards at the top of his deck or something. I'm trying my best to commentate over this, but it is very tricky, because I have no idea how Zoro Sanji is meant to function. But I don't think, at least for the Blue Purple Luffy side, that I would have sent the cards to the top, just because you are in a spot where, like, even if the opponent does have Hody, and you survive till the next turn, you don't have a timing to use all of these events in your hand. You would rather just have generic 1Ks and 2Ks, especially since you know that green blue Zoro Sanji is trying to just keep hitting you at 6 and 7s throughout the entire game. It's at 6, and now Blue Purple Luffy is going to be exposed that he doesn't have any counter. Oh, he hits at Boncle. So he doesn't actually know that Blue Purple Luffy doesn't have counter. Sequencing could maybe use some work here, because there is definitely a way to play out the sequence to get more information out of Blue Purple Luffy. It's very weird to me. With the 8-dong left, he has already used the Smoker effect, so not getting any more dong besides that. Likely not going to go for lethal here, but doesn't really have many great things to do with the rest of his dong. Likely at least 1 dong going on to his leader, so he will be hitting with that 5-cost Smoker twice. There is potentially still timing for green-purple. Got green, blue, Sanji, and Zoro to be able to find an aggressive angle on this turn, but he is kind of taking his time. You likely end up hitting 6 here, maybe? Restand the Smoker. The opponent's going to have to respond in a very weird way to the 6k attack. And then you still technically have 7 dong for Hody if you wanted to, but I don't think that you really would want to go for that play. Yeah. Flex to not do that, because if it doesn't work, he is in danger of dying the next turn. It's for 8k, which unfortunately again doesn't give the green blue Sanji and Zoro player any information, as blue purple Luffy likely to just gear second out this attack. Takes the attack instead. Interesting. The Usahachi could be very helpful here. Guess the smoker banish is something that he wants to respect more. 8-8 with 4 dong left. Zoro Sanji has no information on blue purple Luffy's hand. Still though, I mean, he's still in a fine spot, I believe, but unfortunate that he can't get that little bit of extra edge in this matchup. Ooh, is this new? This is a new OP12+2K. That's just like a slash Wanokuni, not Wanokuni, sorry, East Blue. Oh no, it is Wanokuni, yeah. Wanokuni East Blue slash character that's just very, very searchable. So quite nice for this Nami that I believe before only had Hatchang and maybe like one random piece of support a little bit after. Can't see his hand. Not like tilting my head would actually help with that. 9 Kasanji, 5 Kasnami. There's just not much counter in his hand. I feel like you would have to pick up the 5 Kasnami and put the rest to bottom. I think that's 8 Katakuri? Yeah. This time he decides to do that. It was really greedy for him to put those cards to the top, but he wasn't actually punished as hard as you would have expected him to the last turn. Still, this turn finally has 8 Katakuri on the board, but this turn he's probably going to... He's not going to be able to take back the 5 cost smoker, but he may try to take back at least the Arlong to mitigate a number of attacks. Probably ends up playing either another 8 cost Katakuri or the 5 cost Nami to Shadow Cycle out his hand and leave up a bunch of Dong to play around Hody. Instead going for leader, committing to this plan. You already saw the 2k, so it's just going to get that out of his hand. And what does he want to do now? How many cards does Zoro Sanji have now? 5. I can understand, I guess, why he would want to go for leader. But changing his plan now to go for Arlong. And I think that Zoro Sanji's in a safe spot to just block with this if he chooses to. Like, the worst case scenario for blue purple Sanji... Let's counter it out. Blue purple Luffy would be if he played something like 9 cost Luffy and then rushed straight into the smoker, for example. So he may be a bit afraid of that angle, given that he also did trash the 8 cost Luffy the turn before. So maybe giving Zoro Sanji a bit of false information that he has a lot of aggressive cards. But Zoro Sanji playing a bit safer, keeping the blocker up, and Luffy going for the Nami instead to try to cycle out some of these more dead cards in his hand to just accumulate as much counter as possible. Now, compared to the last turn where he had 0 counter in his hand, if the opponent played Hody Jones, now has a ton of counter in his hand. So it's possible that he's going to be able to survive here now that he also has the Thunder Bagua. He likely just passes the turn with a bunch of Dong up, making it so the opponent's 7 cost Hody Jones doesn't actually do too much. Yeah. He passes the turn back. So now, even if the opponent plays Hody, you're going to have 5 Dong up, which means that he's going to get off the Gear Second Thunder Bagua as well as Gum Gum Giant. Somehow this really, really greedy play from Blue Purple Luffy worked out because he was able to find the Tsunami, the 5th card in his top 5 from his leader effect. But if he didn't have the Tsunami, he would have been in a much, much worse spot. Still though, Blue Purple Luffy, although he's been able to stabilize in terms of hand size as well as counter in his hand, has not been able to stabilize in terms of board. Still very far behind because he has to play this game of catch-up. Hmm. Ooh. Blocks the 7k. Immediately bouncing back the Nami. It's actually very nice. Because like all of these effects that you want to bounce back characters, you usually like to bounce back searchers because they can give you more than one card back once you end up playing them again. And this Nami, although back in OP03 felt very bad as a 2-cost searcher compared to all the other ones that costed 1, in this specific deck is very good because it's actually meets the condition for your lead effect. Now, let's see how Blue Purple Luffy and Sanjin Zoro wants to play out this matchup now. Again, not getting much information. The Zorojiro, always a card that you would want to cut in a 6k attack, so not really raising any eyebrows right there. Oh, I'll move my camera so that you guys can see the time. Womp. Okay, should be good. And Arlong going for bigger attacks now. The thing is, with this much Dong up from Blue Purple Luffy, these larger attacks don't actually hurt too much. Given that his hand now has a bunch of 2Ks, it doesn't actually make a difference if he went for lower attacks either. He does need to break through with the characters that he has because he hasn't been able to establish any more characters. But still, this situation getting better and better for Blue Purple Luffy at the moment. I feel like Sanjin Zoro may have missed his timing to play out the Hody when he could. And that Hody, although it would have been a bit risky to play on the turn that he would have wanted to, if it did survive to this turn, not only would he have an extra 8,000 power attacker, but he wouldn't have to deal with the situation that he's in right now. Ooh. Oh, he runs Vanderdecken! I was thinking maybe he might do that, but that's crazy. He saw Vanderdecken on stream. Not only that, he runs the VV2, which is, again, another very good target for your leader effect. Vanderdecken on the big stage. This Smoker putting in a lot of work. Definitely a very good buff to this deck. Hitting much larger at 11,000 at leader. Now, if Blooper Luffy wants to defend this, he will need to cut a Gum Gum Giant as well as a 2k, which he does have in hand, but he can also try to block this with Nami. Yeah, decides to go for the Gum Gum Giant instead, because not only is he wanting to cycle through his deck, get rid of this counterless card out of his hand, but also if he doesn't use the Gum Gum Giant now and next turn ends up leaving Dong up, it's going to be very difficult for him to play a larger character that's 8+ cost and also leave up Dong for Gum Gum Giant or Thunder Bagua. So using it now to make sure that his hand is full of actual counter cards and not counter events does make this a little bit easier in the long run. Still, likely... The thing is, this isn't really great for either side right now. So Blue Purple Luffy still quite a ways away from lethal despite the fact that he's been hitting leader persistently. Finds the second 5-cost Nami if he chooses to go for that play, but you may need to at some point accept the fact the opponent may have Hody and try to push forward the game state with something like 8-cost Katakuri. If you keep playing defensively through things like the 5-cost Nami, which it seems like he's going to go for anyways, and it's going to be very difficult to actually find an opening for lethal with the way that he's been playing out the game so far. Still, likely going to be the play on this turn where he attaches some Dong to his leaders, maybe just leaves a bunch of Dong depending on what he finds from the 5-cost Nami. Playing 5-cost Nami, just leaving up a bunch of blockers, a bunch of Dong, and trying to slowly win out the war of attrition. Still, with the amount of board that he has right now, very difficult to actually break through within the next couple of turns. But not impossible, given that he has only 3 cards in his hand right now. Does he have a 2k, though? He can 2k this, it could be quite significant. Oh, he does, but he chooses to take the life instead. Debating on a trigger, maybe? Tries to take it, but what was it? Oh, Arlong. I think Arlong's trigger rests a 4 cost or less, so unfortunately would not... Yeah, unfortunately would not affect the board currently. The Blue Purple Luffy completely ignoring the board, which is very nice in this matchup, especially against a 4-life leader. Slowly chipping away at green-blue Sanji and Zoro's resources, and slowly but surely accumulating his own. Finds a lot of counterless cards, though. So, not ideal for him, only being able to pick up 1k from that whole exchange. Will pass back the turn with only the Thunder Bagua in hand for counter events. Still, all of these Dong Up will likely become a good bluff against Sanjin Zoro, but we'll have to see how Sanjin Zoro deals with this. At some point, he is going to have to pull the trigger and just go for lethal. So we're going to have to see how powerful this line of defense actually is for Blue Purple Luffy. I mean, he's been starting all of his attacks so far with this 7k with Smoker. I'm trying to think, though. I don't think he needs to commit to going for lethal quite yet. There is the chance that he may need to. It depends on if he can get rid of these Nami blockers, I feel. If he can reduce the opponent's attack to just the 8-cost Katakuri and Luffy, or just one character and the leader, then you can technically play the 4-cost Arlong to just mitigate one of those attacks to make it so that you can potentially survive a little bit longer. This Koshiro also may be doing some work as a blocker in the long run. But very tricky spot for Zoro and Sanji to be in. Because it's likely that these Namis will stick onto the board, meaning that he may need to go for lethal on this turn. Decides to bounce back the Koshiro, meaning that he's maybe just going to go for lethal on this turn. But still. Now we're going to get the intel that Blue Purple Luffy does not have any more generic counter cards. We'll be using the Thunder Bagua. And this Thunder Bagua is very significant information for the opponent, because usually you'd want to use something like Gear Second or Gum Gum Giant in the situation to be able to cycle through your deck. The fact that he used Thunder Bagua gives the opponent a lot of intel that he maybe just doesn't have any of the extra counter events like his Dong may be suggesting. Still, hits at 7k with Smoker, and this is going to be blocked by Nami. Interesting. I'm surprised I didn't bounce back the 3-cost Tashigi, because I think you still maybe have an angle to play. Oh, right, you could just block with the Katakuri. But chooses to block the Nami instead, reducing his number of attackers next turn. 9 Dong left. Wow. Wait. Where did time go? We are at overtime, which means that as the Zoro Sanji player, this is Japanese rules, I don't know if it differs from the English views. Oh, great. So, because it's currently the Zoro Sanji player's turn, starting as turn 0, he has 3 turns, including this one. And the opponent has... How does this work? Oh, sorry. There's 3 turns total. So, let me get a different colored pen here. More contrast. So this is going to be turn 0 for Zoro Sanji, turn 1 for Blue Purple Luffy, turn 2, and then it'll end on the 3rd turn for Blue Purple Luffy, so that it always ends on the person who's going second turn, so that the players going first and second have an equal number of turns. This is how it works in Japan. So, including this turn, Zoro Sanji has 2 more turns to end the game, basically. Potentially going for it. I mean, he does have it, but it is very risky, or it's very scary, I guess, is the correct way to say it, to go for lethal with this many Dong up. But still, yeah. The attack goes through. Just didn't have enough counter in the end to be able to defend out the 6k attack, even though he was ready to hit with, I believe, 9 or 10,000 with the Hody Jones. So, worked out in the end. It was looking very scary until like halfway through that, but great showing from green blue Zoro Sanji. Very persistent until the end, managing to survive and making the only two aggressive characters that he played basically throughout the entire game in the 4-cost Arlong as well as the 5-cost Smoker really matter in the end. Uh, this is the top 16 match we've just started, but Zoro Sanji, I believe the first time that we've ever seen him in the top 16 in a Japanese championship, going to move on to top 8. Yeah, we've not seen any sneak peeks yet. I can finally look a bit more at chat. But I think we're going to get some PRB02 leaks. I think that we're probably going to get all of the new cards that are being shown for PRB in this live stream. Hi, Sam. Sorry, I don't know if I should have said your real name. Sam Fidelio TCG. I probably shouldn't have said that together as well. Whoops. But how are you guys doing? PRB, yeah. What cards do you guys want to see in PRB02? Mr. 2, definitely one that we want to see. And I'm saying that as someone who already owns the card. I think that it's such a big barrier of entry for a lot of purple decks. Cavendish. Oh, the green Cavendish. That's true. Dude, I was talking to Impact this morning. He's in Japan right now for a trip. And that card, isn't that like $40 or something? Base rarity? That's crazy. Like in Japan, they say it's it's expensive for us, and expensive for us is like $7. 45. Jesus Christ. I asked what cards you want to see, and I had like 8 messages in a row saying Cavendish. But that's true. Yeah, and the new, they keep printing green supernovas, man. My OG days of playing Green Kid are completely outclassed. I think they're just demonstrating. There's this new thing that's already on the official website, at least in Japanese. I don't know about the other English sites. Oh, this is nice though. It has like the number 1, number 2 deck lists from the most recent championships. Too bad it doesn't show anymore, it seems like. But on the website, I don't know how I feel about the UI, but new deck editor. I feel like I'm fine with the one that I use right now, though. Yeah, they need to do a set or two with no Straw Hat characters. I think it would be great if they had a set with just only villains. You know, like all of the sort of, I don't know, prolific is the right word, but you know, get in Arlong, get in Crocodile, Doflamingo. Yeah, that's probably, no, there's a, you know, Kaido, Big Bomb. There's a couple of good ones out there, you know. Lucci, I guess, is another one, but maybe we don't want to see more Lucci. I think that'd be a great set. Don't care about the app. Show me leaks. Blue Purple Sanji list from last stream. Hold on, I have that on hand actually. Let me try to pick that up for you. Hold on. 1 second. I have it. I've been working on a video. I've been aggregating some results. This is the thing is, they didn't actually post their deck list online, so this was just off of like watching the stream game and trying to carefully figure out what's inside the deck. So it could be incorrect, and also that since they didn't put this out publicly, don't want people to like spread it out too much. Also, because it could also just be incorrect. But this is the Blue Purple Sanji that got top 4 last week, as well as his matchups. which will be in a video, which you'll probably see in a couple of days, maybe a week if I'm feeling lazy. But yeah, screenshot if you want to see the blue-purple Sanji. Interestingly, the two blue-purple Sanjis that were in Top Cut both had the exact same deck. Both of them, who are testing partners apparently, went 8-1 in preliminary rounds, as you can see, and made Top Cut with the exact same list. So very, very interesting. High potential for the deck. We'll have to see how it does in the face of things like Buggy. We need broken yellow cards. Like, the thing is, I think yellow's similar to green in the way that they have really, really powerful cards, but they have very, very few really powerful cards. So it ends up being a weird deck of like 30 exceptionally powerful cards and 20 like really bad cards to just fill out your 2k counts and whatnot. So I do agree yellow should have more buffs, but it is very tricky to buff that color without making it very annoying to deal with. Ooh, ooh, ooh. My dream leader. Oh, okay, so here's my proposition for a leader. I think it should be 6,000 power and 3 life, blue and purple, and then once you start the turn with 8 or more dong, you get to look at the top 5 cards and put a straw hat to your hand. And then after that, reorder the cards and put them to top or bottom. I know that would never happen, but like that would be insane, I think. Favorite straw hat is probably Luffy, although that's kind of generic. But aside from Luffy, it's probably Robin. I also like Sanji though. Honestly, all the people behind me, I'm big fan of. Dude, oh yeah, Roger Leader. Roger Leaders. I'm surprised how long they're talking about this website. They put it on the app, I'll actually care a little bit more. Dude, Roger Leader, I think that if that leader is 7,000 power, 2 life, and no effect on the card at all, it would still be top tier. Like, 7,000 base power with no sort of drawback is insane. Because, like, most leaders need to touch 2 dong to even approach you. And hitting the opponent for 7,000 makes it so that the opponent just can't really deal with your attacks early on. Like, I think that it needs some sort of very weird drawback, like in the way that Newgate had in OP02, except one that actually matters, for it to, like, actually be a scary deck. Like, you could, for example, make it, like, 7,000 power, 5 life, but at the end of the turn, you trash one of the cards so it doesn't go to your hand. That might be a bit too weak, but, you know, I think that just 7,000 base power alone is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, we'll have to see what the drawback is going to be on Roger, because 7,000 base is very scary. Makes you -1 dong every turn. But the thing is, there are cards that like benefit from that as well. Like, because you have access to purple, you could run things like the 3-cost pudding, things like the 5-cost kid to just get back that dong. So maybe not as big of a drawback as you may think, but also because they can both trigger in a weird way. If it's just still -1, you have like 2 puddings on the board, then it ends up becoming ramp. I don't know for sure exactly what would be what they would end up doing with Roger, but very excited for that leader because I do love leaders with higher base power. Yeah, Buggy, as we saw, I guess since they're still talking about this app. Oh, this is kind of nice, but I mean, you could just use real dice. We saw at the start of this tournament the play rate of each of the decks. We have Blue Purple Luffy at 22%, Green Zoro at 14.3%, and Green Purple Luffy at 12.2%. And before, Red Rayleigh fell into this 4th spot, but for this tournament, Red Rayleigh has fallen all the way down to here, which means that at the very least, less than 2.8%. So I think that Buggy has scared a lot of people off of playing these aggro decks, but as we can see, Buggy still only has a 4.5% play rate, so there is the chance that Rayleigh comes back a bit more next week. Buggy is also being sort of held back by Green Zoro. Green Zoro just being able to rest his characters regardless of cost and hit into them makes it hard for Buggy to actually create a board. So it's been one of those things where a lot of the decks are affected by the new start decks, but the start decks are also affected by especially Green Zoro in this meta. So Green Zoro, for that reason, has been a lot higher value in this tournament, as we saw. I think there were 4 in the top 16. 5. 5 Green Zoro in the top 16, and hopefully we get to see relatively soon how many have stayed into the top. What? Hold on. They just announced a sim? No. This is the solo versus self mode in sim basically, but as an app, which is nice. There's like a proper way to play against yourself, but no, it doesn't seem like they have, at least on this graphic, any plans of actually doing an online sim. Yeah. Still, I guess it's kind of nice they have a lot of these tools, like a timer, dice for people who don't have them, as well as a way to be able to play versus yourself in the app. Does make it a lot more accessible, because before you would just have to proxy up or download the sim, which has been a bit obscure for new players. So good to have this officially. Still no online client, but good first step. Okay, did I miss that? Okay, top 8 now is 3 blue purple Luffys, 1 green Zoro down from 5. 1 green yellow Law, 1 black Teach still in it, 1 red Rayleigh. Shout out to the guy who's just asking about what red decks were in the top 16, and then the blue green Zoro Sanji still in the top 8. Okay, let's see what we get here. We have Green Zoro against probably Black Teach, I would imagine, just because they want to show off the new start deck cards. We'll see, though. You know, I think Rayleigh's still in a good spot, just because the deck that Rayleigh is afraid of in Buggy just gets obliterated by Green Zoro. See what he's going to be fighting against. Yeah, okay, there's Black Teach. So we're going to see how Black Teach does against, I think, the matchup that most people are curious about for OP12 going in from OP11 with the start decks. How does Teach contend against Green Zoro? On paper, at least, the standard version of both of these decks, Green Zoro has historically had the upper hand, but Black Teach with the new cards, especially things like the 6-cost Kazang, potentially just as the opponent will be hitting into it, or whether or not he runs this event, which I don't know what it's called in English, will probably be very pivotal to this. The event gives one of the opponent's leaders or characters minus 4,000 power and negates their ability for the turn, which makes it very, very good into Green Zoro. But it is very specifically good into only Green Zoro, so it's going to be interesting to see if he actually runs this card. Black Spiral, Black Vortex. Yeah. So I guess I don't know if it's Black Spiral or Vortex, but we'll go with Black Spiral for now. If he runs Black Spiral, then when Zoro decides to hit into one of the opponent's characters to resend his leader to hit into the opponent's leader, it makes it so that he not only potentially can't take out the character because the counter event gives his leader minus 4,000 power, but also makes it so that he just flat out can't use his leader effect because it is activate main. So I think that card could potentially be very pivotal to this matchup, but not a matchup that I've tested too much, so we're going to have to see how this actually ends up going. I have heard that this matchup isn't as bad for Teach as it may seem, so he may not even need this Black Spiral event, but the Green Zoro player looking a bit unhappy with his hand, but this... In every other matchup, this would be crazy, I would imagine. But because you're against Teach, these on-play effects are kind of just vanillas. Still, we'll have to see really how he wants to play out this matchup. I am unfamiliar with this matchup, so I don't really know what the game plan is for Zoro, nor the timing that you want to start using your leader effect as Teach, but we're going to have to see how this goes. At least Teach finding his full OLED Hachinose early on will mean that he'll be able to draw into the cards that he's looking for later on. Also finding things like the 7-cost Teach to potentially clear out the opponent's characters when they come out. Okay. Green Zoro, going first, is going to have a strong curve with his current hand. We'll see how they're going to play out this game. Yeah, it's a good hand for Teach. Honestly, every other matchup, this would be a great hand for Zoro as well, but we'll need to see how he wants to play this out. Decides to go for the Lafitte on turn 1, searching through 5 cards. I feel like it doesn't make a huge difference if you play Stage or Lafitte here, because Zoro will just be able to attach 3 Dong to his leader, hit into the Lafitte, and then hit into leader once again. It doesn't actually absorb an attack, I believe. Yeah. And then, because Zoro, crazy leader, just gets it. Ooh, that's a good trigger. Very good to see early on. We'll find the... chooses to go for Black Hole or Lafitte. I don't think Black Hole has very much value in this matchup, as Green Zoro's cards do just end up being 5 cost or higher for the most part. But with any sort of cost reduction, it will end up helping out in the late game, or in the later stages of the game. On this turn, Black Teach absolutely does not want to play the Burgess yet, unless he is just trying to... even if he wants to use his leader effect, it could be a bit awkward. Yeah, decides not to go for it, just using the stage instead to start cycling through his deck. The one tricky thing here is, even if you lock the opponent's on-play effects, the Zoro player could be running something like the Forecast Klina. The Forecast Klina, of course, is activate main to rest the opponent's base Forecast or less, and then attach 3 rested Dong to your leader. Very powerful, but not every deck runs it as a 4 of. Most decks I've seen run it anywhere from, honestly, 0 to 2. Just because it kind of has the same role as the 5-cost Hashigi, but still being activate main could be very important in this matchup. San Juan Wolf as well as the 6-cost Kazang, so we do see some new cards. The 6-cost Kazang is probably going to be pretty strong in this matchup. Once again, playing down a Lafitte, which again doesn't hurt Zoro too much, as he will just be able to hit into it as well as the leader as well. But the next turn, when presumably the 6-cost Kazang comes down onto the board, even if Zoro can clear it via an 8,000 power attack, for example, he will have to deal with the fact that it's going to be playing out a character from trash. We do see the 5-cost Kazang as well in trash, so it could potentially gain a lot of value over the next couple of turns, but we are going to have to see how he ends up dealing with the situation. Still, Black Teach using his leader effect early on to make sure that he can't get off the on-play effect, so that he can't play a 5-cost 7,000 and still hit 8,000 power. Now he has to make the choice, does he want to develop his board, or does he want to take back the opponent's... does he want to make a more aggressive angle on the opponent? Seemingly decides to go for this aggressive angle. I do think this is probably correct. We did see the Black Hole, so any sort of... like, he does have Stronger. I don't think you really want to play the Stronger. But Teach does have ways of clearing a 5-cost. So this does seem like the relatively safe play, as eventually you do want to, as we see, use this Dead Man's Game event, as well as Luffy's will be King of the Pirates, to be able to restand your leader and just essentially kill Teach without playing too many characters, just overwhelming him with attacks from your leader instead. San Juan Wolf, I'm not exactly sure on like the nuances of this deck, but I would say that what's that called? Caribou is sort of the generic better Vasco shot recently, but still just increasing cost as a blocker can be annoying into, in particular, something like Blue Purple Luffy to potentially get out of range of things like, I don't even know. Like, the cost increase is good, but it is a bit fake because green Zoro's effects rest base cost, and blue purple Luffy just can't use things like 9 Mom in general. You don't really want to use things like what's it called, God Thread later. But I'm sure that there are some matchups where you do really want it. Okay. Now, 5-cost Kazan coming out. I don't know what's in his trash at the moment. Yeah. But still, thankfully, as this Kazang is base 5-cost and Zoro won't be able to use his leader effects next turn, even if Zoro did have something like the Kuina, he cannot affect this Kazang. So this Kazang will guaranteed stay on the board for the next turn at the very least, and can start to do some very interesting things depending on the amount of trash that Teach, or what is in Teach's trash, I should rather say. Still, Zoro now picking up the I'm Invincible, Luffy will become King of the Pirates event to restand his leader. Ooh. Using the Dead Man's Game early. This makes it so that you can take out the Kuzang so he doesn't get the effect off. Netting essentially a minimum 1 card value from each, which can be very significant, but still using this event early on means that he won't have it later on for when the 10 teaches and these other smaller blockers start hitting the board. Teach likely just not expecting this play very early on, but Zoro confident that this is the right play. Now, what does Teach want to do here? That 8 Dong, he has the 7-cost Teach, but not very influential in this matchup as Zoro is not really a deck to play too many characters at all. He could potentially just play out the 6-cost Kazang. Hard to see what the rest of the cards in his hand are, unfortunately. We will just have to wait to see what he does here, because I can't see what the rest of his options are in his hand. I do think I see 2 6-cost Kazans. Oh, maybe that's the 5-cost. Yeah, it's hard to see. Finally sees his Van Augur, as well as the 1-cost Caribou we were talking about earlier. Unfortunately not searchable, despite him looking like he would be on Teach's team. But yeah, as he thinks about this, I'll just kind of take a peek at chat, I guess. Trash is a 7-cost Teach, just pick up another 7-cost Teach. Blue-black Sakazuki moment. Yeah, Zoro Sanji, currently undefeated in top 8. He went 9-0 in Swiss. Interestingly, Zoro countering out this attack, choosing to stay at 5 life, wanting to make sure that he doesn't give Teach another avenue into this game. Does end up playing the 6-cost Kazang, and for Wondong, plays out Caribou. So now he has 2 blockers on the board. Green Zoro potentially thinking maybe he should have held on to that Dead Man's Game for 1 turn later, but still, being able to clear out that Kazang may have some bigger ramifications later on in the game. Still though, now Teach, although he does have only 5 cards in his hand, 2 life, he does have 2 blockers on the board, so it does make him a little bit tanky. Ooh, and this attack from Zoro can be a bit bait. He's likely just going to end up playing the 7-cost Hody here, but one unique thing that Zoro can do is that he can hit for 7, later on attach 8 to then use his leader effect. Or attach a Dong to make it 8 to use his leader effect. But Hody, just as a card that has rush and doesn't need to actually draw your life to gain the rush, likely going to end up being the play here. It's 8 into leader. I think this Burgess right now is at 9,000 power, so not really a target to consider anyways. Decides to go 8 at leader to just really keep pushing this aggressive agenda. Now Teach finally is going to be forced to deal with some of the board, as if he doesn't, he's going to have to deal with not just the attack from leader as well as Hody, but also the leader being able to attack twice every single turn. I guess this San Juan Wolf is also just a decent 4-cost Kazan slash 5-cost Kazan, or sorry, 6-cost Kazan slash 5-cost Kazan target. So could just be in the deck as a one of as a potential option in some of those later stages. Um, Still Teach continuing to go for life and Zoro continuing to counter out these attacks, now giving a 2k counter with no counter left in his hand. It means that this Hody now is in a spot where if Teach decides to, he can just hit into the Hody and clear it with this Burgess. Yes, it does leave his Burgess open to a big swing from Zoro, but if he does have enough blockers in his hand, it doesn't actually punish him that hard. Still, does he have the 10 cost Teach in his hand, though? I believe that the third card from the left is 10 cost Teach. It could be 5 cost Kazan. All of his hand is being clumped up is really tricky to see. Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, you need 3 dong for your leader effect, but you can meet the condition of hitting a character and then, like, with less than 3 dong, and then attach dong later on to have 3 dong and then reactivate your leader effect. So it's a weird timing thing, but as long as all the conditions are met when you use the activate main, then it works. So a lot of people will end up hitting at like 6 or 7 to bait the opponent into a false sense of comfort, to then suddenly attach 1 dong, restand, and then now you're in like a worse situation. So it's a very difficult spot because you don't actually know what Zoro's going to end up doing in some of those situations. But still, Teach playing out the 5 cost Kazan. He does end up taking out the Hody with the attack. Going to play out the Kazan to now... What does he want to play out? Do you want to play out the Sanhan Wolf? Let's go. We see it. So this Wolf, I believe, gains +1 cost per 4 cards in your trash, similar to the way that Burgess works. And is just a 4 cost 6,000 blocker with 1,000 counter. So yeah, is 9 cost right now, but unfortunately, Green Zoro's cards such as the 5 cost Sashigi or the 4 cost Kuina do rest based on base cost. So although he can't use the 5 cost Sashigi, this +5 cost on Sanghwan Wolf doesn't actually matter too much in this matchup. Yeah, actually Teach starting to stabilize this matchup now. Doesn't have the 10 cost Teach in hand. But with these 5 cost Kazans, slowly but surely being able to accumulate value as well as make a very powerful board. This 5 cost Kazan's so strong. I mean, this is like saying water is wet, but every single one of these Kazans played to the board is an extra leader effect essentially for Black Teach. So all of these ones that he's managed to find throughout this game are going to be very pivotal to actually surviving into the late game. Still though, Zoro in a spot now where not only is the Jesus Bodies 10,000 power, making it very difficult to actually hit into with your leader effect, but having the Sanhwan Wolf on the board, having 2 life as well as 4 cards in your hand, Teach is very comfortable right now. And what does Zoro pick up? Not really what you want to see. He may have been a bit overzealous with the timing that he used his Dead Man's Game event, but he likely did that with the knowledge that he has others in the deck. So, not needing to do it quite yet. Definitely don't want to block this attack. Now Zoro has not been able to meet the condition of hitting a character, so he will have to use the event. And Teach, again, not wanting to let him get that extra attack off from his leader effect, decides to take both of these attacks. Teach now down to 0 life, but if he can, for example, continuously play multiple blockers each turn as he starts to fight back, then he may have an avenue back in this game. Still, the Dead Man's Game that he used earlier on, he finds the second one that he has in his deck. Potentially maybe has more with the way that he was playing before to create a very powerful line for the next coming turn, where he can potentially hit for 11,000 twice with his leader after resting 2 of the opponent's dong or characters. Teach finds the 10 cost Teach, but in this situation doesn't honestly do too much. You already know that there's going to be 2 massive attacks, and Teach now at 0 life isn't in a spot where he can just absorb attacks anymore. 10 cost Teach may not be the play anymore, but still picking it up. I don't know if he even has other options though. I think he has the 6 cost Kazan in his hand still. That's 6 cost Kazan. He unfortunately doesn't have 2 blockers. I think at the... Oh, you're kind of fucked, aren't you? I'm trying to find a way back into this. Yeah, no, Green Zora is a bit one of those decks where he just plays his cards, or in this case, doesn't play his cards, and ends up winning. This is one of the notoriously harder matchups. Unfortunately for Teach, he is in a bit of a bad spot, but still trying his best to fight back. What did he see from his trigger? What triggers? Oh, rest of 4 cost or less. 0 cost event. But it is, it's not base cost, and this Sanhwan Wolf is 9 cost right now. So weirdly, this did actually matter. Sanhwan Wolf is 9 cost, so you can't rest it with the 0 cost event. So now he's debating if he wants to rest the Burgess with this event. He could potentially hold on to it into his hand because the Burgess, attacking or not attacking, doesn't make a huge difference on this turn, and just use it as extra counter when Teach tries to go for lethal, presumably on the next coming turn if he can survive. Still debating if he wants to prevent this attack now or later. Oh, yeah. It's 9 cost. Okay, he decides to put it to hand. Yeah. And actually, that's pretty significant information, though. Now you know that the Zoro has 0 cost event in hand. Because this deck generally only runs 1 if it runs it at all. Now he knows that the opponent's hand has minimum 3000 counter when he is trying to go for game. Teach still has a lot of counter in his hand. Ooh, wait. When did he find this Caribou? Now he can actually set up 2 blockers if he wants to. It does reduce his 2k counts a bit, but the thing is, he does need to find a way to mitigate essentially 4 attacks, because the event rests 2 blockers, then his leader can attack twice. So, decides to play the 10 cost Teach. Interesting. Holding on to the counter here. Oh yeah, I guess you only need to defend 1. Right. You rest the 2 blockers. Yeah, you rest the 2 blockers with the Dead Man's Game. You hit with... Does he have enough counter? Oh, he has enough counter. Oh, shit. Yeah, he's going to hit at 11 twice, and the 11 probably going into Sanhwan Wolf will be able to clear that card. But second 11k at leader can be defended with 3 2ks and a 1k. I always forget that Burgess has 1k counter. Does the 6 cost Kuzung have counter? It's still a new card for me, so I don't know, actually. Drawing Caribou off of the Kuzung's crazy. It has counter? Wow. Every single card on that deck has counter and has no right to be. I don't think that card actually deserves to not have counter, but just randomly every card in that deck has counter. So yeah, he does have enough counter to survive, at the very least this turn. And that will mean that Zoro won't have Dead Man's Game for the next turn. Still though, Zoro kind of hesitant to go for this attack. Since he has shown Dead Man's Game, it is public knowledge, so the Teach knows that if it is coming, it's going to happen. Debating on whether he should go for it, but what other play does he have right now? Currently still at 2 life with many cards in hand, can still feel rather comfortable as he does have the 0 cost event, but hesitant to just do the full send trying to go for lethal on this turn, as he does have the potential of dying in the next turn if it fails. I think the 0 cost event was not trashed because the judge was lenient, understood that it was a mistake, and let him take it to hand. I think it's just one of those player misses, and it's just the judge's decision whether or not he can roll that back or if he's already resolved the effect. I think in terms of situations like that, Japan is a bit more lenient. I think last week we also had a situation where Blue probably forgot to use his leader effect at the start of the turn, and the judge still allowed him to, because it hadn't gotten to a point where it couldn't be rolled back. Yeah, Zoro not going for the bait here, although I'm sure that he really, really wants to go for it. Decides to just slam all of his long, going for the attack. Potentially looking to just try to clear out a character or two. Holding on to the Dead Man's Game for the turn after, and still forcing out some counter out of Teach. So if the Green Zoro can hold on to this next turn, which he most likely can given the amount of counter that he has in his hand, he's setting up to try to go for lethal the next turn. But still, giving this one extra turn to Teach may be enough given that he has a couple of blockers already in his hand. If he could find one more blocker, it'd be significant though. Does not find the extra blocker. If he can find one more blocker, then he would have 4 on the board, which means that he can actually defend against Dead Man's Game plus 2 attacks from leader. But without that, he just needs to either have enough counter to survive the next turn, try to go for lethal this turn, which is seeming unlikely, or try his best to find that last blocker. One thing is, although he does have the 1-cost Searcher, the deck doesn't run Vesco Shot anymore. So even if he were to look for something like a blocker, he won't necessarily find it from this search. Sees the 10-cost Teach, though, and a lot of 2Ks. I don't think he has enough counter to be able to survive another turn, though, unfortunately. He has 2, 3. Another stronger? Wait, he has so much counter in his hand. He might actually be able to survive. Since he knows that he only needs to defend an 11k attack. Seems like he's going for the defensive play. But he can't play... He can't play any of the cards in his hand or else he's going to die. But he's likely... Oof. At the very least, he's been able to gain enough counter to be able to survive against Dead Man's Game plus 11k, 11k. The thing is, like, if you play 2 blockers here, first of all, 2 of them end up getting rested by the, what's it called, Dead Man's Game. And then he hits for 11k twice, so you need to block one, and he's going to hit again with his leader into your leader, and you've just lost, because one of them has to be Caribou. You've lost 3k counter, and you still have to deal with an 11k attack. I think the best thing to do is to just... Oh, you're right. This is so tricky. Wait, no, has he lost? Sorry, there's so many weird angles in this situation. Yeah, he doesn't even have to use the event if he just sends 15-15. Yeah, wait, actually Teach might not have done it. Yeah, no, you guys are right. Yeah, I was so focused on the event, I didn't consider just attaching your Zong. Because Zoro's a good deck. No, I mean, Zoro's really annoying to play against because he can just win the game without ever playing characters, but... I mean, it is very popular in Japan, so I'm sure a lot of people enjoy the playstyle. It seems like Teach doesn't have a way out of this, actually. Thought he had enough counter, but yeah. Zoro just needs to not play his cards and hit, and then he would be able to win. But to mitigate that, Teach does have to just play out the 2 cards that he has. Man, this sucks. Leaving up one dong, maybe bluffing barrier. One can dream. I think, I mean, yeah, Teach is a very annoying deck to play against, but so is Zoro. I feel like this is kind of choosing the lesser of two evils that you want to move on. But I guess Zoro is new OP12 leader, but Teach in a way is newer for us because we just got access to the start decks last week. Unfortunately, it seems like Zoro will have lethal here, but there is the chance that maybe, like last turn, he doesn't go for lethal. We can pray. I don't know why I'm rooting for Teach in this moment, but I think I just enjoy decks that can actually play cards to the field. That's hypocritical, actually. Teach doesn't let people play cards to the field. Man, it Teach is so close to having enough counter. Still, I don't think that Zoro's in a spot where he can afford to... Oh, he didn't use his leader effect? I mean, then yeah. That's what ends up happening, I guess. Is he going for something different, though? He is just slamming, yeah. 13,000, I believe? Yeah. Yeah, unfortunate, but... Yeah, there was a lot of weird lines in there that I wasn't considering, which made the commentary a bit awkward, but... Oh well. Teach almost did it. I think now with that we have all of the leaders that were buffed with the start decks out, but we do still have Green Yellow Law, who at least was in the top 8. Green Yellow Law, a deck that does use one of the new start deck cards, could potentially be carrying on the will of these new start decks. There's so many weird lines with this deck. It makes my head hurt. I'm not a Teach player. Okay. New cards. I don't... I'm afraid that, like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I wasn't done live. Hold on. I'm sorry. I must have paused at some point. Okay. We're gonna get a lot of news very quickly. Okay. Rayleigh, Cavendish, Sanji. Okay. There goes all of your market price. Also, every single expensive card. Ace also coming back. Tashigi. Oh, thank God. Tashigi is kind of expensive in Japan. They're printing OP10 cards. It's interesting. Okay. Bonclay! Yeah! 3-cost Brook. There's a lot of cards there, but basically every single expensive card, it seems like. So, 0 cost event for an... Okay, hold on. Let me just pause for you guys. 2 cost Ashinante blocker. The rest we've seen, but lots of nice stuff. Marijo. That's weird. I'm surprised that they showed that. New cards also getting parallels. Those are nice. What is this Zoro? Item. Is that a new card? Okay. I'll read the new cards that we see when they're full screen like this. Marco, 4 cost 6,000 blocker on KO, draw 2 cards. Very simple, very powerful. Pudding, 7 cost 5,000 plus 1,000 counter on play, Dong -2 if your leader is Big Mom Pirates and you have 6 or more Dong on your field, draw 2 cards. Then, 自分の手札がthen play a 6,000 to 8,000 power Big Mom Pirate to the board. What the fuck? That's not okay. We've seen the Subble. What's this? Hancock. Film, interestingly. 5 cost 7,000, no counter. On play, trash a card with trigger from your hand. And I did not. And then make it's the same as the 6 cost Hancock, it seems. Make it so one of the opponent's rested leaders or characters that's not Monkey D. Luffy not be able to attack until the end of the opponent's next end phase, and then trigger KO a 4 cost or less. Nice stone cards. Ah, 4 cost pudding. Okay, it's not getting banned. We got 4 cost pudding SP and 4 cost Rebecca SP. Okay, wait, this might be important. Are they going to show Gum Gum Giant? No! It's not getting banned. Ah. Hold on, wait, what's this? Yo, wait, this was the card that was like leaked such a long time ago. We're getting a 9. Oh my god, wait, they have no intention of doing anything to Blue Purple Luffy. They just showed Gum Gum Giant and a 9 Sanji comic parallel. Slowly catch up to live because we're looking at some of the new cards. Well, here's the Lucky Roo, which is new to BRB, but not new information. 4 cost 2,000 blocker, and on play, you trash a 6,000 power character and draw 2 cards. Bonnie, 3 cost 3,000 blocker. On the opponent's attack, once per turn, you can make one of your Dong active. Just very good with Bonnie. Not Bonkley, Mr. 3, 2 cost 1,000 blocker, which when it's rested, you can instead trash the character and draw 2 cards, so generically good blue blocker. Nami is very similar to the East Blue Nami that we saw in round 1 from Zoro Sanji, just a 2 cost 2,000 with trigger searcher that searches Straw Hats. Shiryu, don't remember what this card did. Sorry. If your leader is Blackbeard Pirates, gain +4 cost and blocker, and then on KO, if your leader is Blackbeard Pirates, KO an opponent's character with a base cost of 4 or less. Otama, Black Yellow Luffy support, 2k counter, and then activate main. You can rest the character and add 1 card from your life and give a leader or character plus 2,000 power. Also very good in the Wano Kuni version of Blue Yellow Nami. Yeah, wait, not only did they not ban Nanka Sanji, but they added Nanka Sanji to the pool of cards that will never be cycled out for rotation. This card we just saw, 4 cost 6,000 blocker, which on KO draws 2 cards. Very good, by the way. Generic. Oh my god, it's also it's Whitebeard Pirates and Wano. So, dude, we're getting so many blue yellow Nami buffs. And this was the ace that was leaked the other day, which on play, if you have a face-up life, you can put a 2 cost. Yeah, just 2 cost from your 2 cost ace, Sabo, or Luffy, I believe, from your trash to the board. Kusahachi, Roshinante. Roshinante art by Bisai. I love Bisai as an artist. Hold on. I got a notification online. Close the line for a second. This is the ST law that's unfortunately kind of past its time. Nenka Shanks, which we have seen. This is a new card. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I wasn't too sure. I thought it meant to be the promo. 4 cost 4,000 / 2k counter. Uh, during the opponent's turn, if this oh, if this card is rested by the opponent's effect, you can instead rest one of your other characters, and it's a blocker. So like anti-green, green card with 2k. Very nice for a 2k with slash. Also, importantly, it's a supernova, so generically very powerful in green. Pretty good. I want to see the base art for that, because I'm not gonna... Okay, hold on. Ooh, the flamingo buffs. Jinbe, forecast 5,000, 1,000 counter. On play, check the top 5 cards for a 7 Warlords of the Sea that's not Jinbe, and add it to hand, then put the rest to the bottom of your deck. And then on attack, put a 1 cost or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. So actually, it's Hancock buffs, not Doflamingo buffs. Hmm. But still, though, it's a 7 Warlord Searcher on a 4 cost body, so for Doflamingo, it's a very, very cheap way to cycle through your deck. But the second effect that bottoms a 1 cost is specifically for Hancock, it seems. Poor Dofi. Yeah, the card looks really sick, though. Okay. Okay, my cope. Purple Don Quixote Pirates. 5 cost 6,000, 1,000 counter. Blocker. On play, if your leader is multicolored, then add a Don card and rest it. Yikes, dude. Is this more blue-purple Luffy support? That's a very solid card. This is very good. It's like no condition, just if your leader is multicolored, just add a Dong rested and it's a blocker. Yeah, no, they must be doing something terrible to Blue Purple Luffy to do all of these things to him. This pudding is crazy, by the way. I need to reread this because it seemed like I must have misread it. 7 costs 5,000, 1,000 counter. On play, Dom -2 if your leader is Big Mom Pirates. And the opponent has... Oh yeah, the opponent has 6 or more Dom guards, so you can't ramp into it. Then draw 2 cards. Yeah, and then play a Big Mom Pirate with the power of 6,000 to 8,000 from your hand. Like, so you draw 2 cards, and then you play 8 cost Katakuri on 7 Dong. That seems absurdly strong, no? Like, it's leader locked to Big Mom Pirates, so, like, you have to use it in Purple Katakuri or Purple Yellow Pudding. But, like, this is really strong, no? I mean, it's been a while since we've seen like these sort of statted cards like 7 cost 5,000, but like it doesn't actually matter if you're playing 8 cost Katakuri on your 7 long turn. It makes the curve going first a lot better for Katakuri too. That's really nice. And this Hancock. On play, trash a card with trigger and make it so that one of the opponent's leaders or characters that's not Monkey D. Luffy not be able to attack until the end of the opponent's end phase, and then trigger KO one of the opponent's 4 cost or less characters. Trying to think what leader actually wants this, because it's filmed too, which is kind of interesting. It is kind of Robin support. The thing is, like, the 6 cost Hancock that does a similar thing for no trash effect of the condition is also not really used. So having to trash a card, there must be a leader that has some sort of like, it looks so good. Ah. God, dude. Yeah, I was afraid this would happen, but it looks like Gum Gum Giant's not getting banned, guys. Yeah, and here's Pudding, SP, for people who wanted this card banned too. That's not happening either now. This looks great, by the way, with her cutting through the ribbon like that. But, yeah, no, Pudding's not getting banned, Gum Giant's not getting banned. Rebecca's not getting banned, which is another card that people wanted banned, kind of. There's lots of really, really nice SPs this set. That's so cute. I'm a big fan of Rebecca, if you guys have seen my playmat in videos and stuff. I also, one of my friends from NA, when he was here, gave me this card, which I know is very, very expensive, but love Rebecca. Would like to pick up that SP. This Sanji, I can live without. The art's maybe not the one that I would have chosen. Yeah, Rebecca already has an SP, which is why I'm surviving. Or, which is why I'm surprised. I don't know where that word came from. Yeah, well... Now, what can we ban that's not 4-cost Pudding, not 9-cost Sanji, and not Gungam Giant to keep Blue-Purple Luffy in check? Like, maybe 9-Mom? 9-Mom would hurt the deck pretty significantly. Oh yeah, someone in chat just said that too. Yeah. My vote... but the thing is, like, Gungam Giant would have been such a nice ban because there's so many problematic purple Luffy decks. Well, it's kind of just two, I guess, in green-purple and blue-purple. But if they just hit blue-purple Luffy and don't hit green-purple, I'd be very sad. They could ban the leader. The thing is, like, I wouldn't mind them banning the leader, although that might sound like cope. I wouldn't mind them banning the leader if they also did something about green-purple Luffy, because I think that the second that you get rid of blue-purple Luffy, green-purple Luffy is just going to take his spot. So I'm very afraid of that happening. They could ban Stage. Yeah, they could. Thing is, like, the current meta with not very much removal makes it so that that wouldn't be a huge hit for green-purple Luffy. I just don't really like the philosophy that Bandai has had in the past, where like they just outright ban leaders like they did with red-purple Law and blue-black Sakazuki. Although, yes, they were too strong. It seems like they could have done things to sort of keep them more in check. Ah, Impact. Yeah, Manga Sanji's crazy. Yeah, I think... Yeah, I'm just afraid of green-purple Luffy taking over as best deck if you get rid of 9-Mom. But I think that 9-Mom is a good adjustment to get rid of. Yeah, that's true. Even if you hit green-purple Luffy, maybe purple Luffy takes a spot. I think that purple Luffy does have a bit more clear weaknesses just because it's very clearly bad against aggro decks. Whereas like green-purple Luffy and blue-purple Luffy still do have the tools to deal with them. But a lot of those tools are just Gum Giant. So I feel like it would have made the most sense to just get rid of Gum Giant. But that's not the world that we live in. So it is the world we're going to have to deal with. Yeah, I think... I believe Gum Giant's Block 3. I think it was the first set in Block 3, so yeah, if they don't do anything about that, then we are just going to have to deal with that for the next 2 years. But yeah, no, I agree. 9-Mom doesn't really fit the thematic of purple. But like purple's thing historically has just been like the everything color. He has like I think his Venom Road or one of those Magellan cards that gives minus 2000 power. There's Rush. You have things like Ichiji that have both of those, for example. Dome Minus has always kind of been the core, but it has a lot of random mechanics from a lot of different colors. But 9 is a very uniquely yellow card that shouldn't exist for purple. It is kind of, in a way, just giving blue, purple, Luffy access to 3 colors. Yeah. I wouldn't mind it limiting to 1. I think that would be a nice thing for them to do, because once, like, it's a very powerful card, but once you see it once, you know that it's gone and you don't have to play around it anymore. That would be a reasonable thing, but Bandai, at least in Japan, hasn't ever limited a card. They've only outright banned cards. I know that overseas they had that one weird phase where they limited a lot of Whitebeard's cards to 1. We've never had that in Japan. Yeah. I don't know. The meta right now is a bit tricky to actually like pinpoint, because I don't think that Blue Purple Luffy's actually like by far the best deck like it once was. OP11, the thing is, like, you guys didn't really have OP11 without the start decks, but OP11 without start decks, before people have really like been able to cook up answers to Blue Purple Luffy, that's when Blue Purple Luffy was the strongest. But then, like, with time, I think if you just never touched anything in the game, eventually Blue Purple Luffy would start to fall lower in the tier list as people sort of start to figure out how to deal with it. But like, Blue Purple Luffy has a lot of weaknesses. It's just that he has the tools to be able to mitigate them very well compared to other decks. We're probably not going to get bans announced in this stream. I think if they're going to announce bans, they're going to announce it much earlier on. Like, that they're going to announce bans in the next stream for whatever, you know? So, we're not going to see bans in this stream, if bans at all. But the PRB cards that they have shown do kind of act as indicators for what cards are not going to be banned. Let's take a look at the top 4. We have 1 Blue Purple Luffy. Let me pull out my pen. 1 Blue Purple Luffy, 1 Green Yellow Law, the savior of the start decks. The Green Blue Zoro Sanji still in there, as well as Green Zoro that we just saw. So, a very split top 4. I think originally we had 6 Blue Purple Luffys in the top 16, now down to 1 on an equal playing field as all of the other decks. And now we get to see the Green Yellow Law, see if he runs these new cards. I think the Kid Killer is a very significant buff to the deck, but there were other buffs for Trafalgar Law in OP12 that we're going to have to just see if he ends up running. Blue Purple Luffy. This is a Green Yellow Law favored matchup. We'll see how much experience Blue Purple Luffy has in this matchup, though. He does need to take this a bit more aggressively than you would expect to. Still, though, Green Yellow Law, with the new start decks buffs, with the new OP12 buffs, may make this matchup even harder than it once was in OP11 for Blue Purple Luffy. Hello, Peru. Thank you for the comments. Where are you guys watching from, by the way? And what time is it? Because I know that it's gremlin hours, at least in NA and whatnot. This means that the other top 4 match is Green Zoro versus Zoro Sanji. That's crazy. I wonder who wins that out. If I would expect Green Zoro to win that out, but if Green Blue Zoro Sanji ends up winning that out, that'd be insane. We have 4 a.m. in Peru, 2 a.m. Oregon, India. That's cool. Serbia, Australia, Netherlands. Yeah, for a lot of EU, it doesn't seem like a terrible time, but I appreciate you guys watching at Gremlin Hours in the West. Italy, Croatia, Portugal, Puerto Rico. Very nice. I appreciate you guys tuning in despite the terrible hours. Ooh, ooh, this is a bit of a scary hand. If he's going second, it's not as bad, but it's not really the hand you want to see into a deck that's trying to be pretty aggressive. Right, yeah, Arlong Zanji. That might actually be a better way to say it, because I keep messing up how to say that. Yeah, the Arlong would stunt that matchup a lot, so I would really like to see that, but still, we haven't seen the green-yellow law on stream yet, so they probably just wanted to kind of get more representation. Starting with the 1-cost Luffy, we don't see any new cards so far in his hand, but maybe we'll see one here. Yeah, there's the Kid Killer. Don't know if he actually picks it up here. Can he even? I don't know what searcher that was. Oh, yeah, no, it's the Luffy searcher, so he can. Picks up the Bidge instead, setting up for his leader effect later on, since he doesn't have anything to do that quite yet. But still, he will not... Oh no, he will be able to get to his leader effect on 5 Dong. Blue-purple Luffy, on the other hand, did manage to go second, at least for his hand. That seems like the better option. Can play Bonkley the next turn and God Third whatever comes out, assuming that there is no protection for it from the Green-Yellow Law side. But Green-Yellow Law does have a lot of protection in his deck, so we'll have to see how these turns play out to see how good Blue-purple Luffy's hand actually is. Because right now, with all the events in his hand, if he doesn't curve out correctly or carefully, it may be a bit scary. Thankfully, he does have a lot of counter, so he will probably be able to stabilize into late game, but we will have to see. Top 4 right now is, as you can see on the screen, Green Yellow Sanji and Blue Purple Luffy, as the other side is Green Zoro and Blue Green Zoro Sanji. So, very interesting matchups. Want to see the Zoro Sanji again. What's he picking up here? Koshiro. Yeah, this is one of the cards that would be anti-removal. This Koshiro being able to defend one of your 5-cost or less slash type characters from being KO'd. If he can play it alongside a 5-cost, then he will be able to defend it from being God-threaded, which can make a very precarious spot for Blue-Purple Sanji. Blue-Purple Luffy. Oh my god. 7k attack. He doesn't need to take this per se. I would probably defend this just to be safe. But Green-Yellow Law as a deck generally only tends to hit at 6 and 7s, but they hit at 6 and 7 a lot, so you're not really in a position where you're pressured to counter out these early attacks, for example. Still on this turn, likely just going to end up playing the Bonkley, and it'll be interesting to see if he hits here. You absolutely do want to hit here as Blue-Purple Luffy. Okay, good, good, good. If he doesn't, then he's in a very, very bad spot, because it lets Green-Yellow Law just use his leader effect for no cost, effectively. Still, Green-Yellow Law here, if he can get 3 more Dong worth of characters onto the field, then he can use his leader effect, and he does have the means to do so. See how he plays it out and what cards he ends up playing, because he does have a ton of different options. Does run the 7-cost Law, which a lot of people may be a bit controversial. Now, with this, Cavendish will have 2 extra Dong, which he can, I believe, play the 1-cost Bitchy. Right? Play the 1-cost Bitchy, put 1 onto leader, get out another 5-cost on the board to get a really explosive start in this early game. Hi, Hermes. Thank you for stopping by stream. Starts with the 6k to not give too much information. I wonder what you end up playing off your leader effect. Is that... Oh, yeah, that's the 5-cost blocker Law, so that's just the only option. I just banned Dong cards. Yeah. Plays the Bitchy. Now basically gets to choose what card he puts in. Likely just going to be the blocker Law that he puts into his life. Activate main on his leader effect to put the Law directly onto the field. Then bouncing a character back to his hand. Probably the 1-cost Bitchy again, so he can keep using his leader effect to play out the 2-cost Bitchy, I would imagine, just to put out more blockers onto the field. Yep, bounces back the Bitchy. Deciding which searcher to put back to his hand. I don't know this matchup well enough to know the nuances between which searcher you should pick back. Decides to go for the Pirona, electing for the slash searcher, and playing. Oh right, Koshiro, not Bitji blocker. Yeah, I forgot he had that. So yeah, this Koshiro now makes it so that he is immune effectively to God Thread in this next turn, which is very crucial. It's weird that this green yellow law player's name is Purple, but he's not playing purple. Blue purple Luffy on their hand, his name is Iori. Just seems like a name, but we have Purple against Iori. I'm absolutely not going to say their names because I know I'm just going to say purple into purple, and it's going to be a complete nightmare to commentate. But green yellow law in a very powerful commanding position right now. His board cannot be KO'd by God Thread. Blue purple Luffy, his plan in this matchup is going to just be to try to rush down the opponent as best as he can to make it very awkward for green yellow to use his leader effect. The nice thing about this 8k attack is that either green yellow has to go down to 1 life early on, which he really doesn't want to do, or he has to block with Koshiro. If he blocks with Koshiro, then it makes it so that he's open again to God Thread. So he either has to counter it out, which, given his hand, I believe he does have... Oh, he only has one 2k, so he probably doesn't want to 2k 2k, or he doesn't want to 2k 1k 1k. He might end up needing to be forced to take this attack, which makes it tricky for him to use his leader effect the next turn. A lot of people run Gravity Blade in Blue Purple Luffy right now. Most people run 2 right now. It just seems like either he doesn't run it in his deck or he hasn't been able to find it yet. Yeah, takes this 8k attack, doesn't want to block with the Koshiro. Unfortunately means that the Blue Purple Luffy is likely just going to have to use the God Thread on the Koshiro. Yeah, because he can't actually KO something like Cavendish, which he would have wanted to. Still, this does mean that he will be able to get to his leader effect in the next turn, with currently, at the very least, 3 life still remaining. So at the very least, we'll at least be able to get 1 activation of his leader effect. And potentially try to start to stabilize the game, but currently, with his hand being effectively 4 bricks, technically one of these cards, one of these gear seconds can be used as counter on this turn. Can be a bit tricky if Rinella starts the attacks with 6k, which he likely will with this Cavendish. Ah, camera died. No, hold on. 1 second, guys. Okay, for now this should work. Hold on. I need to figure out the situation. Same thing happened last week, where I have like a proper camera, but the cord to charge it while I'm using it is too short for me to actually plug it in, so it just ran out of battery. So I'm on my backup webcam right now. Yeah, camera got hit with Gravity Blade. I didn't think it would be 6 cost or less, though. It's too bad. I would have at least hoped that it'd be red rocked. Yeah, and anyways, back into the game. Green Yellow Law plays out the 7 cost Law on curve very nicely to heal 1 life, get 1 dong onto his leader, so he can use his leader effect once again if he chooses to, but it does put him in a bit of a scary spot as the game goes on, being too low on life, so we will have to see how he ends up dealing with this. Blue Purple Luffy again drawing a counterless card from his life means that if Green Yellow Law hits again with 6k, he's likely going to be forced to use Gear Second. Debating on if he should go for 6 or 7, it seems like. Could also hit with this 5 cost blocker Law as well. I think that currently Blue Purple Luffy's board isn't strong enough to actually be able to punish you resting this Law. So it's going to be... He's going to have to make the decision of whether he wants to use his leader effect to just play out a character and use the Law as a blocker, or if he's going to want to just... it seems like he's going to be going for his leader effect. Yeah, or if he wants to just hit with the Law. I do think that using your leader effect to just expand your board really hard would be the better play, just because the Law, while being a 6k attacker on this turn, Maybe nice playing this restand law on this turn to be able to hit with your Cavendish. Effectively does the same thing while still giving you a safety net in the blocker law, as well as establishing another 6,000 power character to the board. Gets the 2 extra dong, and now, yeah, this 6,000 attack is going to be taken. Green Yellow Law kind of taken aback, didn't expect him to take that attack, which gives Green Yellow Law a lot of information on what's going on with his hand right now. Still though, Green Yellow Law likely not in a situation where he would want to rest this blocker law, even given that information, will likely end up just going for something like an 8k, although it would end up being countered efficiently with gear second. He did get some information on Blue Purple Luffy's hand, but it's not enough information, I believe, to really act on it on this current turn. Is he going for the attack? That's really bold. I think that he can get away with this, because even if Blue Purple Luffy tries to just swing really big with the 2 characters, he should theoretically, at the very least, with the number of cards in his hand, have enough counter to defend out the attacks. But yeah, no, this is pretty significant. So Blue Purple Luffy is going to have to counter with the only 2k that he has in hand, which luckily he was able to find off of his second life, and is going to need to... He uses... Oh, I guess the next attack's going to be 7k as well, but I don't think you need to order it like that. No, actually, I guess ordering it like that is relevant. Because if Green Yellow Law, for whatever reason, although he won't in the situation, but if for whatever reason he decides to stop hitting at this point, then you'd rather have the 2k Sanji in your hand than the gear second. So actually this ordering is correct from Blue Purple Luffy. I didn't consider that. And Blue Purple Luffy now, on his Tendong turn, will be able to use his leader effect. These are not the cards you want to see. At the very least, I think he had Eikas Kadaguri in his hand, so he could, for example, play Eikas Kadaguri and kind of wall up with the Gum Gum Giant that he sees. Plus, he sees a lot of counter in these other cards in the top 5, so he could go for a plan just using the cards that he already has in his hand. So, actually not as bad as maybe first impression, because these small 1k and 2k counters will be quite valuable against this matchup. Sorry about that. Okay. Should be fine for now. Figure out the cable situation for next time. Sorry guys, did he send it to top or bottom? Bottom. Interesting. Okay. Oh, bottom, top, bottom, bottom. You can... Okay, bottom. Okay. I guess you have the potential to find more counter if you do send to the bottom. Plus, he does already have a Gum Giant in his hand. But it does leave a lot more up to chance. Thankfully, he was able to find the Zorojiro off of the first draw. The Bonclay is 9k power right now, but given the fact that Green Yellow has 7 cards in his hand, I don't really see an angle where you could really try to take the opponent's board. The 2 Gaspeci on the board also is a very big wall to deal with right now. Yeah, Blue Purple Luffy potentially looking at a very quick loss. He didn't have too much counter in the early game, forced to take 2 6k attacks. Down to 1 life on his first 10 dong turn makes it very tricky for him to stabilize in this game. Don't know if this attack went to leader or characters or not, but we may never know if he blocks this. I believe that you would probably just go to leader with the attack, since if you were to go into one of the characters, it just makes it easier for the opponent to defend it. And with Green Yellow Law at 1 life, you do kind of want to try to find this aggressive angle to try to finish out the game early on. Still though, with this block from Green Yellow Law, maybe potentially opening up an angle that he can try to, that Blue Purple Luffy can try to clear the board with the 9-cost Luffy. Still, this is probably just very, too little advantage for the amount of cost. So he's likely just going to play the 8-cost Katakuri here, pass the turn with 2 long up, hoping to be able to try to find new cards off of the Gum Gum Giant, since he hasn't been able to see the next couple of cards. Now, Green Yellow Law, what does he want to do on this turn? I mean, he wants to hit with 6k a lot, but how does he want to do that? He finds another Restand Law, which is going to be very significant. This Restand Law potentially equating to a ton of damage on this turn. The rest of the cards in his hand, not really great. Thank you, K-Dog, for the support. Yeah, I don't know if it actually helps the stream, but if you guys press like on it, it makes my little dopamine levels go up and it makes me happy. Okay, Green Yellow Law now. He has so much damage on the board. I don't think there's a way that Blue Purple can really fight his way out of that. Like, you play the 1-cost Bitchy, you put the Restand Law into your life, then you can leader effect. Obviously the order's incorrect, but you don't get the full value out of Cavendish though if you just attach your Dong to your characters though. Could potentially... You could potentially push out your characters to get Dong back as rested. Could be an angle, but starting with the 6k attack with the Law, resting the blocker Law. Trying to see how many 1k counters Blue Purple Luffy really has. Now going to be exposed that he does not have any more 1k counters. Green Yellow Law likely had this information from the last turn when he didn't defend the 6k attack and chose to just defend with Gear Sec in the turn before. So Green Yellow Law preying on that fact, trying to see just how many 1k counters Blue Purple Luffy was able to find on this last turn. Knows he has the Usohachi from the last turn and decides to block with the Katakuri. This is a big indicator that Blue Purple Luffy just doesn't have the efficient counter, since if he had the 1k counter, he absolutely would want to cut it right now. Still though, the best thing to do after that sort of sequence would just be to hit with 6k, but it is awkward considering that Cavendish has an actual effect that you want to use. 10k would be a very solid threshold to hit with here as well, because it would force the opponent to use Gum Giant as well as another 1k, still trying to attack the opponent's 1k counts. But I don't know if I really want to hit with 10k this early on though. You hit with 10k early on and the opponent uses Gum Gum Giant, then it gives the opponent 2 extra draws. He takes it, electing to instead just try to defend this final attack instead. What I was going to say is that the issue with hitting big early on against Gum Gum Giant is that you could potentially give him a lot of smaller 1k and 2k counters to be able to more easily defend out from the smaller attacks from something like Cavendish. Yeah, he might be actually going for the plan to just push out his characters to get some Dong back. Ooh, but this Law could actually change some things. With this Law, he Blue Purple Luffy likely doesn't have enough attacks to actually go for lethal. The Green Yellow Law may just not need to actually pull the trigger. Just play one game slower, make sure that he doesn't die the next turn, and push through again with the plan he's going for right now with all these 6k attacks. Yeah, I mean, the 7 cost loss seems like a very solid play right now. Not only do you still get many attacks off of Cavendish as well as your leader, but you can leave yourself at um, 2 life, and if you can just clear the opponent's Bonkley, then you're basically guaranteed to survive the next turn. So yeah, Law going for the slightly slower play, electing that he doesn't need to actually go for game on this turn. Going to just slowly choke out the options that Blue Purple Luffy has. Yeah, I think overlapping characters is just a habit, but it's not a habit that I love. It makes it a bit hard to see what characters there are. Oh, what's going on here? You know, I think he had it right. The judge might just be a bit confused. Yeah, okay, it seems like it's been resolved. Dude, I think I've seen, I don't know if it's you every single time, but I've seen like 3 comments so far to just top deck Hody. I don't think he needs a top deck Hody to win this game. Yeah, Cavendish going into Bonkley to make sure that the Blue Luffy just doesn't have enough attacks to try to go for lethal. He could technically try to go for lethal with the 9 cost Luffy, but that does mean that he has to hit with 6 or 7k with his leader, and given the fact that Green Yellow Law has, I believe, 4 cards in his hand, it's likely just never going to actually be able to go through. May even be 5 cards. Yeah, 5 cards in hand. And he also has the 2 cost bitch, I believe, in his hand. The blocker from OP10, I think. So, although he would have to push out one of his characters to play it, he can just play very, very defensively if he chooses to. Like, he's not in a position where he needs to play the 2 cost bitchy, since mathematically he always survives the next turn, but he could play it just as an extra layer of insurance, because either way he should win the next turn after that. Still though, likely the correct play is to just hit with the 8k here, but I would understand if he wanted to play safely given that he's also on the stream. Still though, going for the 8k swing into leader will be forcing out either Gum Giant or Gear Second. I believe that you end up running or using the Gum Giant here just to be able to cycle your hand a bit more. So if Blue Purple Luffy can find some decent cards off here, probably won't be enough, but 9 Mom, for example, could be... Okay, Season 9 Sanji. 9 Mom doesn't help too much here. I mean, it likely wouldn't be enough, but 9 Mom in the situation would help him pivot his game plan. The thing is, with this matchup, though, you really don't want to be sending the opponent's characters to life because it just lets them pull it back out again from their leader effect. But if his plan is to just survive this turn, he has seen some of the cards that he wants. Unfortunately, he doesn't see Gum Giant, which is the other card that he really would have wanted. He does still have the Gear Second in his hand, so he does have a decent amount of counter, but very tricky. The other option is to use this Gravity Blade to just try to clear 2 cards and try to defend that way. But given the fact that not only can you not search this Gravity Blade, meaning that you have to put the cards on top to actually draw into the Gravity Blade, he just doesn't have that much counter in his hand currently. It likely just isn't going to be enough. Picks up the Nami, puts it to the bottom. Decides not to go for the 9 Mom. I think that mathematically you would lose either way. So the other plan here is to just play 5 cost Nami, pray that you draw into like... Oh, that's one of them. If you draw into a Gum Giant, then you might have enough counter to survive. And other than that, Blue Purple Luffy probably just, I think right now, all he needs to do is go face with all of the attacks that he has, play the 5-cast Tsunami, and pray. That's really all that it comes down to. But he has somehow accumulated a lot of counter into his hand. Yeah. The thing is, like, given the fact that Green Yellow Law has 2 7-cost 9000 on the board, even if you do Sanji into 9-Mom, into Gravity Blade, into life, you gain 1 life, which is eaten by Law. You get rid of one of their 5-cost characters, but you still have to deal with 3 other attacks, I believe. I haven't done them. Doesn't see the Gum Gum Giant, unfortunately. It ends up just not being enough in most scenarios if the Green Yellow Law ends up hitting at the correct thresholds. Fortunately, he doesn't see the Gum Gum Giant, so he likely won't be able to survive this turn. Potentially spelling the defeat for Blue Purple Luffy in this top 4 match. Starting with 8k leader. I mean, it's 8-8 most likely, but I think you probably just leave up a bunch of Dong for the potential of Hody from the opponent. Yeah, I mean, either way, it's cooked, but it's just playing to your outs, I guess. Yeah, the scary thing is if Blue Purple Luffy had another turn, he would likely be able to win this game, but Green Yellow Law in a position where he's not going to allow that to happen. Decides not to play around the Hody. Just if you have it, I lose anyways. But even if he does have it, or even if he doesn't have it, he loses anyways. So it doesn't make a huge difference here. Trying to just chip away a little bit at resources at the very end here. He does still have a lot of counter in his hand, so I haven't done the math, so I won't put it past him that he may be able to survive depending on how Green Yellow Law ends up using his Dong cards in the next turn. But Green Yellow just has so many attacks right now. Also, the 5-cost Resand Law still in his hand. Still in a position where he can use it because he does have the 1-cost Bitchy in his hand. Going to equate to a ton of damage in the next turn. Yeah, that's a lot of Law on turn. Wait until you get a load of purple-yellow Roshinante. That deck is only Laws. It's too bad that deck couldn't use green, though. There's some really good green Laws. What did he pick up? Ooh, new 5-cost X-Drake too. So we see a couple of new cards. I don't think that 5-cost X-Drake does anything because it... Yeah, only... Oh, it rests a 5-cost or less. I thought it only rested a 4-cost or less. I don't know... I mean, is that mathematically better? It might be, actually. I don't know in the situation, though. It does get rid of Nami, but it is 5-cost, which is pretty heavy. I just don't know the maths on this. This is so annoying. The turn before, or the 2 turns before, we saw Blue Purple Luffy had very little 1k counters, and Green Yellow Law was exploiting that by hitting with 6k a lot. But because Blue Purple Luffy's leader effect as well as this 5-cost Nami just immediately cycles through so much of your hand, these 6k attacks actually don't hurt as much as the Green Yellow Law would hope for them to. He does need to make his attacks bigger if he wants to try to break through this line of defense that Blue Purple Luffy currently has. Is going to end up playing the 5-cost X-Drake, though, to rest the Nami. Oh. Thinking about it. Blue Purple Luffy trying to think what was that 5 Dong that he just rested. But Green Yellow Law instead going to be playing the 1-cost Bitchy to put the Resand Law into his life. I think he has to show it. Yay. Okay, show the life. Put it down there, which indicates to the opponent that there's going to be a lot of damage coming down this turn. Wait, when did he find Deadman's game? Oh my god, was that his last life? That's insane. Dude, Blue Purple Luffy was not meant to win this game. Yeah, no, I think that Green Yellow Law just wins in every way right now. Dude, his last life was the Deadman's game. Now 6k will be countered with 2k, but this next 6k will need to be dealt with Usahachi most likely. Yeah. Nah. Dude, what? And he can still use the restand law from his leader effect. Oh, okay. I mean, we've went to time, so just for people who weren't here for round 1 when this happened, Green Yellow is the player going first right now, and the way that it works in Japan for overtime, there is no extra time, there's just extra turns, and it's always meant so that both players get the same number of turns. Green Yellow Law was the player going first, so this is going to be his turn 0. I'll write that in a better color again. This is going to be his turn 0. Blue Purple Luffy's going to get turn 1, he gets turn 2, and then turn 3 for Blue Purple Luffy, and then the game's going to be over. Likely the game's not going to go to that point, but if it does, then it will end up coming down to number of life, number of deck size, etc. Still, pulls out the restand law, hits again with the Cavendish, going to restand so much Thong, and with 4 Thong active, 2 more 9,000 power characters on the board, Green Yellow Law takes the best of 4 match going on to the finals. Now let's see who won the other match. That's kind of what I'm more excited about. Did Blue-Green Zoro-Sanji win, or did Green Zoro win? I think unanimously we're probably rooting for the Zoro-Sanji to win, but let's see how that ended up going. Zol-san. You know Zol-san in Japanese means elephant? It's like you know the card / arc Zol when they're on the very big elephant back. It's just like a kind way of saying elephant, like Mr. Elephant, Zol-san. Really? That's their shipping name? Why does Zoro and Sanji have a shipping name? Looks like they're going to be showing more Don cards. I don't think we're going to get any more new reveals for today, but just looks at the actual cards, it seems. I wonder how this works, though, because we have, like, actual SPs in things like the Carrot and the Rebecca and whatnot. That looks sick. What the fuck? Jeez, that, like, hurts my eyes a bit. I wonder if these are in the same SP slot as the other SPs, which would make the SPs, like, absurdly expensive, or if these don't count as SPs anymore, and therefore we have, like, a normal set. That would be the best case scenario if these are, like, 1 per box or something, but I know, you know, knowing Bandai, this probably isn't something that they would end up doing. I mean, Nikadong's nice. I still prefer... I don't have it on hand right now. I still prefer the very simple Gear 5 Nikadong where he's jumping in front of the moon. Yeah, no, they wouldn't do 1 per box, but a man can dream. I just really hope that they don't contain the same SP slot that the actual character SPs do, because then that would make the character SPs, like, absurdly expensive, because they'd be like 1 in 30. Yeah, they showed Mr. 2 in the video before, so likely getting, I think, pretty much confirmed. I think that means that it's getting a reprint in PRB02. So check out your TCG players, see the prices go. Okay. I was like, is that it? I wasn't sure if that was gonna be it. What else do we have for PRB? Yeah, they're almost too shiny for my taste. Oh wait, no, they're probably just going to show. They're probably just going to show the red-green Luffy again. This is something about OP13. Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, no, it's red-green Luffy. It's just saying, like, go out and buy the magazine so you can check out what the leader is. But we already, thanks to the internet, we don't need to buy the magazine to see what the leader is. Oh, Zoro Sanji made it to the finals. That's crazy, dude. Zoro Sanji right now is 12-1. Damn. So we're going to get green, yellow, versus green, blue Zoro Sanji finals. I guess green's just the best color in the game. That's the power of love, baby. Yeah, 12-0. Oof. This matchup seems tricky though, because green yellow law's leader effect is activate main. So for example, the forecast Arlong doesn't actually do anything to that matchup. Hmm. PRB02 comes out on the 26th of July in Japan. I don't know when it comes out overseas. It's coming out pretty soon. Yeah, I think every single OP12 tournament that we've had so far, there have been really interesting finals matchups, which is testament to the meta, I guess. It's been very, very interesting meta, but very, very difficult to actually deck build for. Because like you don't know what you're going to hit on any day. You can't actually sort of target a certain meta. October overseas is very late. The thing is, like, if you're in the Japanese meta, it doesn't feel very interesting because you feel like you're just seeing a lot of the same leaders. But like over the course of like one of these 13 round tournaments, you end up seeing interesting leaders here and there. It's just like when it's only 5 rounds, you just end up seeing like 2 blue purple Luffys and you're like, ah, shit meta, go next. I'll see you guys in September sort of thing. But I mean, consistently we've had very, I would say, I guess, low-tiered leaders winning in OP12 so far. So, testament to maybe not how well balanced the game is, but how every deck has the potential to do well given specific metas. Like the Forecast Arlong, a card that's basically never been run in any deck, but very, very powerful against Green Zoro. These sorts of cards, these sorts of leaders just randomly start to shine if they are given the right meta to do so. I think PRB02 doesn't have any new leaders. Just new cards, and I think 3 per color. Which I think that they've shown by now. Yeah, Forecast Arlong was running Arlong and Hody, but I don't know how to say this without being rude, but I meant like meta leaders. I'm sure that like I've seen Arlong here and there do well, but yeah, I haven't seen it get to like top 16 in a championship. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Arlong fan. Like, just as a card, it seems like even if you're against a leader without a very powerful effect, that it can actually, like, defend against. A lot of the times, it is still just turning one of your cards without counter into counter because you'd be mitigating an attack that's either 5 or 6,000 power. So, like, in general, it's not a bad card. It's just that it's never really been good enough to use over the other green cards because it also doesn't have counter. Taking a while to get into the finals, though. Let me check what these new... I have the new start decks on my desk right now since they came out pretty recently. Okay. You just remind myself what these cards do. Oh yeah, the Hawkins is pretty Bonnie specific. Yeah, it's just the X-Drake and the 2-cost Kid Killer. Maybe you could run the 6-cost bitch? Or not the 6-cost bitch, the 2-cost bitch that needs 6 cards rested. But there's definitely much better cards that he has access to, given that he has access to yellow. So, likely not. There are a lot of bench blockers, aren't there? I wonder if any of these cards are helpful for Zoro Sanji. Likely not. There are some cards that are kind of generically powerful, but it doesn't seem like they really play into the playstyle that he's really going for. Yeah, wow, dude. First time I've seen Fishman in top 16 in Japan, and it's made it all the way to the finals with a record of 12-0. No, yeah, I know that overseas people call bitchy, this card, this guy, kind of hard to see with this camera, like beige or beige, but in Japan it's called bitchy, which sounds like bitch. Yeah, so if there's a manga alt art version of a card, then it won't be rotated out. So they announced a manga parallel version of the Nanka Sanji, which means that it's going to be permanently in the game. All versions of it, not just the manga parallel version. Other than that, we don't have any information on rotation. This is the finals. This is Green Yellow Law against Green Blue Sanji. And Zoro. Sanji Zoro. Zol-sang, as people have been saying. To be fair, the thing is, like, with bitchy, like, it's spelled like this, which is, like, how you'd, I guess, expect it to be spelled, but, like, it's pronounced, like, be-ji. There isn't really a workaround for that, but people don't really know. Like, the thing is, Japanese has sounds that you either shorten and, like, pause, and sounds that you elongate, and they make for a lot of dangerous interactions. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, a good example. I mean, I don't know why this is the first example that came to my mind, but, like, ro means well, but ro is jail, like jail cell. Obasan is, like, respectful way to talk to a lady who's older than you, and Obasan is, like, granny. So very dangerous. And then in the same way, bitchy, it's not like biji or beiji. It's be, comma, ji, which is a weird Japanese thing. Big G. You could just call it. Oh, also, a lot of people call it Capone Gang Beige, but it's Capone Gang Bitchy, which is like, aside from gang, two traps in one card. Okay. Let's see how this Zoro Sanji plays out this matchup. Probably a matchup that neither of these people are familiar with. If there is one of these sides that might have more familiarity with one of the matchups, it would be Zoro Sanji. Green Yellow Law versus Zoro Sanji is just never a matchup that you actually test, so likely going to be both of these people's first time playing out the matchup. Still, Green Yellow Law going for what would be his sort of strong early game move. Hold on, let me see actually if I can. Let me see if I can do chat interaction. Who will win? Oh wait, can I? Okay, okay. Yellow, blue, green, blue. Nice. Okay, I put up a poll. Who do you guys want to win? Who do you guys think will win? Zoro Sanji, Green Yellow Law. Very overwhelmingly Zoro Sanji at the moment, but let's look at the game as the poll votes come in a bit. Also, I never say this, but make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, although I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this have already subscribed. Ooh, he runs the forecast Zoro as well. Interesting. So this actually could be quite pivotal to this matchup. If the opponent has two characters on the board, then you can rest on the opponent's characters and immediately hit into them. So if Law decides to try to start establishing his board early on, Zoro Sanji can immediately respond with this card to hit away at Law's resources before he can really get his leader effect going. Still though, with the 5-cost Cavendish in his hand and the fact that he's going first, means that he will be able to get his leader effect off on the 5-dong turn, because he also has the 1-cost Pichi in hand. So not going to be a huge factor in this early game, but is one of those slightly annoying things that Green Yellow is going to have to factor in. Playing the new Kid and Killer. Going to check 5. The very powerful thing about this Kid and Killer is that it's just a 2-cost. And for Green Yellow, just having cards of higher cost means that you have more consistency in using your leader effect early on. Especially if you're going second, it can potentially allow you to use your leader effect on your 4-dong turn. But given that he's going first, not a huge factor. But still, being able to search through your deck for more of these supernovas means that he's going to be able to find things like this Koshiro, going to be able to find things like the Bitchi, but he already has the Bitchi in his hand, so probably not going to consider that as an option. Potentially looking at the other blocker Bitchi. But in this matchup, so Bitchi, the Bitchi blocker kind of has generic removal protection, but it doesn't actually protect the character from being removed, just protects it from being sent anywhere but life. And Koshiro is more proper AO protection, but green, blue, Sanji, and Zoro, not a deck that seems to really focus on board clear. So this may not really be something that he needs to consider in this early game. Decides to pick up the restand law instead. Potentially trying to finish out this game early on, because Green Blue Zoro Sanji is a deck that does not have very many resources historically. 4-life leader with a leader effect that doesn't necessarily generate you many resources, though it does let you return characters to your hand. Maybe a scary endeavor. Still, What does he have? He does have the 5-cost Smoker, which, as we saw in the top 16 match, was very crucial in the Blue-Purple Luffy matchup. In this matchup, where Green Yellow really values his life, may also be a very important factor. Plays out the 3-cost Mihawk, and off of 3-cost Mihawk, plays the 4-cost Zoro. So this 4-cost Zoro can't attack, but still can use the on-play effect to rest the opponent's character, which means that he will be able to hit into it with either his leader or the Nami, depending on if he wants to rest these characters. Decides to hit into the Nami, hit into it with the Nami, because he can just restand the Zoro as well as bounce back the Nami to his hand with his leader effect if he chooses to. This is very nice. This leader just completely mitigates the demerits of this 3-cost Mihawk. Very nice. Now hitting into leader with 6k. Law, a deck that doesn't really want to go that low on life too early on, but Green Blue Sanji, a very aggressive deck if given the tools to. Okay. And the poll is out 67%, 66% at the very last second in favor of Zoro Sanji. But still, 1/3 of the people here, Law believers. So Green Yellow Law off to a very powerful start here. Going to be able to restand 2 Dong, use 1 Dong to play out the 1-cost Bitchy to now play out another 5-cost with his leader effect. And he put into his life the restand Law. Yeah, he doesn't have any other good targets, so electing to just put a 6,000 power character. He could also choose to not use his leader effect, but likely just going to use it to be able to establish his board. This seems like a matchup where both of these players are going to be playing very aggressively against each other, but Green Yellow Law does need to factor into the fact that his aggression comes from his life, whereas Green Purple Sanji, Green Blue Sanji, his aggression comes from on board. Counters out the 6k hit. Trying to stay relatively healthy because both these decks are going to be trying to hit each other down pretty quickly. And now, Green Blue Sanji in a spot where he can make his 4-cost Zoro hit twice if he chooses to. But does really want to start to set up his other board. Currently his board is weaker than Green Yellow Law's board, but in terms of hand size, they are dead even. Yeah, believe it or not, this is finals. Somehow in this world of Gum Gum Giants, we got 2 Hody users. So we haven't seen Green Yellow Law's deck list. I don't think we saw Hody in his deck yet, but pretty likely that he ends up running that card. We'll have to see. Still, as the commentators are mentioning, I believe before the mulligan we saw an 8-cost Kid, so card that could become a factor later on, especially since Green Yellow Sanji can only restand characters that have 7,000 power or less. This guy's making... not Green Yellow Sanji, I'm sorry. Green Blue Zoro Sanji. Makes it look so strong, the number of attacks that he has from such an early stage. From this 6-Dong turn, being able to already get 3 attacks in, chipping away at Green Yellow Law, who's a deck that really needs time to just to start getting his resources going. Does not want to take down to 1 life, does not want to counter out this attack, but is going to be forced to. Ooh, playing out the Mihawk again. Oh, he can play the Cavendish. Oh my god, yeah, it's not locked to green characters. Oof. And this Cavendish, if left unchecked, is just going to keep generating resources for blue-green Sanji and Zoro. This is one of the most unique deck lists I've ever seen. It's so cool. Yeah, and this Mihawk, now searchable with the new 1-cost Perona in OP12, makes it so that this strategy is much, much more consistent. Green yellow law here. 7 Dong. He can use the 7-cost law on curve, but again, like the turn before, he doesn't have a great 5-cost to put into his life. The resend law on this turn will help him since the Cavendish will be able to attack, but there is the argument that you don't really want to use your leader effect because of how much aggression this green-blue Zoro and Sanji currently has on the board. So, does Green Yellow Law go for board? He may feel threatened to, because right now he's very far behind in resources. Yeah, he goes for the Zoro. Zoro and Sanji right now with 6 cards in his hand, with at least as far as we can see, 1 2k? Only 1 2k. Yeah, we'll end up letting the attack go. Wanting the Green Yellow Law to go for his life instead, or go for the Cavendish, which is 6,000 power, which makes it much easier to defend for Zoro Sanji. Still, now Green Yellow Law putting the 5-cost resend law into his life. He's doing a lot of things, but not the thing that he should be doing. Finally gets the card into his life, attaches Zong to his leader, and now likely going to hit with the Cavendish, but into what is the question? Does he think that he can outrace the Zoro Sanji, or does he think that he needs to take back the Cavendish? This Cavendish can be very powerful in the next coming turns if the game doesn't end very quickly. Goes for leader, it seems. Yeah. He said Cavendish, so I thought he was going into Cavendish, but he was talking about his character Cavendish going into leader. Attack going into Zoro Sanji. Again, Green Yellow Law, aside from this 7-cost law, most of the attacks are just going to be 6,000 power, so you aren't in a spot where you really need to defend the early attacks, since if you defend early on or you defend later on, the attack's still going to be 6,000 power. But use his leader effect to pull out the resend law, and now this Cavendish can attack again, once again getting off the leader effect. Potentially going to put on a lot more pressure onto green-blue Sanji, trying to actually be able to race him. I feel like I've seen this Green Yellow Law player before. I don't know if I've seen him IRL, if I saw him on stream before, but he looks really familiar to me. Zoro Sanji, taking life down to 1 in the face of the 7-cost law on the board. Very brave, but given the fact that we have already seen 2 resend laws on the board, it will be very awkward for Green Yellow Law to actually reuse them if he chooses to. Would have to do some very weird things to get the cards back into his hand to immediately use it. So potentially feeling a bit more safe given the fact that he has used these cards. But Green Yellow Law once again going at leader, trying to race him really hard on this front. Blue-Purple Sanji is very far ahead in terms of hand, but significantly behind in terms of board state right now. Green Yellow Law right now in a very good spot right now, but we'll have to see how he responds to this. And Green Yellow Law also has 2 Deadman games in his hand. I'm not sure if that's actually relevant in this matchup, but it is always insurance, because not only is it plus 3k to your leader when you need it, but it's also just rest anything whenever you want it to. So a card that's great to have when you're uncertain about a matchup because it's so versatile. It can be a very aggressive card and a very defensive card. May not be pivotal in this matchup, but will act as significant defense in the turns to come. Still though, gets the turn back. Zorosanji, with this Cavendish, I think that it's once per turn, unfortunately. Otherwise, he could have done some crazy things, making it attack twice. I may be wrong. If it's not once per turn, that'd be crazy. Blue Purple Sunshine. I'm sorry, guys. I'm completely cooked with these names. There's too many leaders with the same names. I'm sorry. It's I don't even know what it's called anymore. Green, blue, Zorosanji, Zorosan, Zorosan. Okay, Zorosan. I need to just try to call it Zorosan because I'm never going to get the name right if I try to say the full name. Okay. Yeah, it is once per turn, unfortunately, Cavendish. But still, the on attack, giving him 2 draws, 1 trash, being able to let him get 1 card without counter out of his hand. Past the 5-cost Smoker's Prime, unfortunately a card that was very powerful in game 1, just didn't really have the timing to play it in this finals game. Game 1 is in the top 16 game. Yeah. From the top 16 game, I guess we kind of get a sense for how this deck is supposed to play. Green Blue Zorosanji does not really seem like it plays very many characters to the board, but instead plays very well through the characters that it already has on board. Green Yellow Law, on the other hand, makes a very wide board and can also hit with them twice through the 5-cost Law. At least on paper, seems like Green Yellow Law would be significantly stronger, but due to the fact that Zorosanji can use these cards twice, like the 5-cost Smoker, makes it so it's a very interesting deck. Not only that, but you could bounce back the cards. These decks are very similar, aren't they? I don't know. This Green Blue Zorosanji feels very limited in what he can do compared to what Green Yellow Law can do. Still, with things like the 2-cost Koshiro, can create some time to at least defend against this very large 7-cost 9,000 power Law. Yeah, no, if Cavendish wasn't once per turn, this deck would go crazy. It's one of those things that I thought about back in the day when they first revealed this leader. The 3-cost Okiku is also once per turn. If that was not once per turn, then like there's so many things, like so many strong on-attack effects that it feels like they slapped once per turn on them just as insurance to make sure that this deck never does anything. This is the finals. Yeah, but still, Zorosanji going for leader with 8k, playing out of the range of the opponent's Deadman's Game, which only would give the leader plus 3k. So if he wants to defend this deck, he will need to cut Deadman's Game as well as 1 extra counter. So if Zorosanji can defend on this turn and keep his board relatively safe, there is the opportunity to go for lethal in the next turn. So 5-cost Cavendish isn't once per turn, but Zorosanji isn't a supernova leader, so he can't use the card. Unfortunately, it's only Straw Hat Crew. Green Yellow Law electing to cut the counter very, very low on hand in comparison to Green Blue Zorosanji. Still with 5 throwing up, likely to just barricade as much as he can with the blockers that he has. But still, playing around this Deadman's Game very well, forcing the opponent to cut it as well as extra counter when the next attack from Cavendish likely not going to be higher than 8,000 power. Can even hit with the 3-cost Mihawk as well to just create more attacks in this next coming turn. He'll hit with 7k, and this attack is going to go through, meaning that Green Yellow Law, not only is he going to be at 0 life, but that means that he can't use his leader effect as well. Oh, there's the 8-cost Kid. Dude, if the Mihawk hit for 8k there. The thing is, like, with absolute knowledge, we know that he should have hit for 8k there, but it's really risky to try to do that. If the green-blue Zoro-Sanji thinks that he can survive on this turn, he absolutely should. It's just that, given our absolute omnipresent knowledge of the game state, we know that he would have had lethal. So, unfortunate, but we have to understand that from the perspective of the players, we really don't know what's going to be happening. Unfortunately, this might end up being game, though, because the second Deadman's game that Green Yellow Law had is going to be doing a lot of work now. Still, though, Green Yellow Law can't use his leader effect. Yeah. Fortunately, the read might have been wrong for Zoro-Sanji. If he went for the 8k, the game would have been over, but the read may have been, he already saw one Deadman's game, he likely doesn't have a second one. These decks that run Deadman's game just generally don't run more than 2 copies at most. So, don't know for this Law deck, but it was a safe bet to assume that he might not have another one, that he could maybe play through this out. But maybe not being able to pay off in this scenario, as Green Yellow Law looking to hit an insane number of times, honestly. Starting with 8k, how many 2Ks does he have in hand? Yeah, not very many. The 8k attack here is actually very brutal. Unfortunately, this seems like it's going to be the end of Zoro-Sanji. Unfortunately, the hand read was off. 2k counter, though. But given the number of cards that are... Oh, he even has the restand law as well. Yeah, he tried his best. Zoro-Sanji very, very close to having lethal here. But unfortunately, in the end, Green Yellow Law, through Deadman's game, is able to pick up the last game, becoming the winner of the Fukuoka Championship. We had a start deck cards win. So the start decks did matter. The 2-cost Kid Killer, maybe not making a huge difference in this game, but potentially making the difference in the games before this. Green Yellow Law will be our Fukuoka champion. Still though, I mean, as disappointed as people seem to be in chat, which understandable since Zoro-Sanji did have lethal if he went for it. If this was Green Yellow Law versus Blue Purple Luffy, you guys would be ecstatic. I'm just saying that. So we should be happy that we had a very difficult deck, a very unique deck like Law win. It was just so close to having history be made today. Still, I do think this may be the first Green Yellow Law win in Japan, though. So very, very close. It is Blue Yellow Nami all over again. Deadman is very, very strong. Yeah, it's surprisingly harder to use than I initially expected, just because, like, on paper it seems like you could put it in every single deck at 4 and have no problems, but due to the fact that it only gives your leader plus 3k, it does have some problems. But yeah, very powerful card, and in the end is the difference maker in this matchup. Unfortunately, I completely understand why Zoro-Sanji went for the play that he went for. It seems like the highest likelihood that the opponent, 1, does have the counter given the amount of cards that he had in his hand, and 2, that the opponent doesn't have Deadman's, given that he already saw one that he used for counter the turn before. So, unfortunately, Green Yellow Law not only didn't have the counter, so the attack would have went through, but also had the second Deadman's to be able to go for lethal. Unfortunate. I do think that I do think that green yellow. I didn't do the math. This actually see if mathematically he would have survived without Dead Man's game, but if Zoro Sanji did the math and knew that he would have survived if there was no Dead Man's game, I think that was the correct play. So unfortunately, just in the end, not the correct read. But I think valiant effort from Zoro Sanji almost made history, and of course, congratulations to Green Yellow Law for winning. For some reason today's maybe it's about the same, but I do need to go eat dinner relatively soon. So I may need to wrap up stream a little bit more abruptly than I usually would, but I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this stream. Trying to see if there's anything else to talk about in that thing. I think basically not, but yeah. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed the stream. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, since I will be here next week for the Japanese Championship as well. I should also have a video coming out tonight in Japanese time, but based on your time zone, probably not going to be tonight. How many hours is that? Like 5 hours from now, I should have another video coming out on Yellow Karugara. So look forward to that, I guess. I keep pointing to the wrong camera. It's this camera. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. There was a lot of UP in Top Cut, but they did not make it to the finals. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice rest of your day, as for most of you guys, it is still the start of your day. If you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next week.